What's up, everybody? We're going to talk about CRT and this story above here. One second. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to tell my client that he got offer accepted. Kind of a big deal. Don't go anywhere. What's up? What's up? If you are here, welcome. If you like my debates, you might enjoy tonight's debate, CRT. And basically, we're just going to talk about if you approve or don't approve of it. I want to know what your thoughts are about it. I want to know if you don't like the idea of CRT, I want you to please feel free to come here as a guest and explain your reasons. I'm not here to judge you. I just want to kind of get an understanding of a full circle conversation of what this means to Americans from all races. CRT doesn't only have to be something that we can discuss pertaining to African Americans in this country. It could be something talked about with literally everyone. I mean, I don't understand why this is a huge controversy when it comes to political conversations. But yeah, I'm here early. I told everyone that I wouldn't be here till 9. I am here early. If you have to go because this is not a conversation you want to have, then please have a good night. So while I'm waiting for people who like these conversations to come, I'm going to start looking up some not talking points, but events that led us up to this point. Hopefully my computer doesn't die out on me. So for one thing, CRT is a curriculum. I don't know why it's so hard to do. It's kind of a tongue twister. It's a curriculum. And it's a new study, a newer study. I don't see what the big deal is. If you enjoy history class, it's just kind of like an extension of it. I'm not going to be taking any duets today because they just seem to want money, and I'm not here for that. You know what I'm saying? The picture in the back really does speak for itself. And some people get so upset when there is a visual, but this wasn't that long ago. This little girl is still alive, still to this day. She's alive today, which means we haven't been liberated that long. So for people to think that we could just get over something that just recently happened, it wasn't that long ago. The Jim Crow law was 50 years ago. Okay, I'm 36. So when I was born, it was literally just a few years, maybe a decade after it happened. A few decades, 2 decades, 20 years since it happened. So even I, here today, could have gotten some, leftovers of what was circulating in society called racism. And actually, it still is very much a revolving door here. It's almost like our country's obsessed with the reminder of our history so that we can be reminded our position, something that you should think about. Kind of like the BLM, they just want money. At what point have you ever seen anyone in the BLM get money? If you really want to have a good conversation about the topic of BLM or CRT, you need to be really politically correct, okay? Nobody from the BLM movement made anything. If you want to go out there and get mad at the 3 girls, Opal, Patrice, and the other girl that decided to start a nonprofit organization and do something with that, then go on ahead. But to me, you're doing free marketing for them. So if TikTok can get paid for creating a website that we all use, why can't they be paid for a hashtag that everybody used, everybody capitalized on? As an African American, it was appalling to see so many other races, so many other people from all ages, all demographics hop on the bandwagon of the BLM, and now we don't hear them be vocal about concerns that we are still having still to this day, like police brutality, like equal pay, not only pertaining to sexism, but just in general. Black people don't really get the same benefits as some, because there's not that many of us. And to pretend like racism isn't in this country would be protecting it. And it's just not true. African Americans in this country have stated over and over again that we are still living the same type of societal constructs that have kept us from moving forward as quickly. I mean, I would even be strongly, assertive to say that the LGBTQI community, LGBTQA now, they got another one. I really wish they'd add the W into that. Have moved forward more than the Black community. You understand? We have not been liberated 100%. Okay, we have come a long way, and I am very grateful to be a part of a country that eventually listens. But there are still people still hurting still to this day. Some people that are senior citizens that are not getting the medical attention that they need, are not getting the housing assistance that they deserve. Okay, so if you think that this country has written its wrongs just by saying, well, we're not living in the Jim Crow law era, that's not okay. That's unacceptable. It was not that long ago. And people still to this day, including this little girl, are still alive. You understand that? So if you want to say if the BLM made money, who made money? Because I was part of the BLM and I didn't make a dang skiddly doo on that. Okay? So let's be politically correct here. America is what it makes it. America was made off of racism, ideologies. Absolutely. America was created for people to work. And like a TikToker, a creator said very eloquently, our poor people, our poor peers in different races really need to understand that they have a lot in common with the Black race. But because there's this sense of privilege of being a part of the white race, they don't want to give that up. The sense of the status quo, the sense of I am better than, the sense of I have an advantage of because of the lightness of my skin is something that is very, very real. And when people don't want to hear that, they just want to protect it. Enough protecting racism. CRT is a way for us to abate it, get rid of it once and for all, so that we can all be treated equally, so that we can all be human. And it's really sad that our history has been manipulated so much that not even African Americans, I believe, in this today's age, understand how we got here, where we came from, and where we need to go to equal the playing field. No one is living in the past. We are living in the present. And in this present day, racism systemically is very, very live and well. And that's why I want to study law. Right now, my business is doing pretty good in real estate. I'm hoping to get enough money to pay my college outright. I don't want to be in debt. Good thing I live in Connecticut. Connecticut's got tons of colleges. I want to study law because I want to help my people. I'm 36 now. I probably won't be able to help you with the law part until the next 10 years. But right now I can help you with housing if you need help with that. And I can also help you with the very basic assistance. If you feel like you're being discriminated against, you have rights. You absolutely have rights. And that's the difference between the Jim Crow law then and the new Jim Crow law today, is the mere fact that if you are being discriminated against, America lawfully will give you the rights to state your case and go through due process and hold people accountable. And there usually is a payout for that. So if you don't want to pay, don't be racist. Yeah, there is a racist in here, but I try to give them a chance so that they can be open minded to an experience that maybe they haven't had. Somebody that's willing to listen to them, but I'm not going to condone their behavior, if that makes sense. A lot of people on TikTok could be very young and immature, like this person saying, get a job. Last time I checked, I have one. If you don't understand that an entrepreneur can have multiple streams of income and multiple jobs and a hobby, I suggest you go back to school and definitely go back to church. So what won't be open-minded to someone? Okay, so there is a troll here, so we'll just get rid of that person. And is this person a troll too? Thinking America is great is just legitimizing our own corruption. I think America is amazing. However, I don't believe that we have fully been liberated as far as a minority race has been marginalized in this country. And I believe targeted for capital gain. Write that down. Kid isn't, it could be a young kid. That's why I stopped being so upset on TikTok. I used to get so upset when people were being racist in the comment sections, but now I realize these are probably like kids or really, really old people. So I'll just block them. Thank you for trying to teach them, but you're wasting your time. I could be, but maybe not. I'm hopeful that people will come here with a broader perspective. I have some educational pieces here. You can not listen to it or listen to it. It's up to you. Thoughts on CRT getting banned nationwide? I think that's obnoxious. I think it's very telling how far we still need to go. I think a lot of people are really showing their true colors pertaining to this wonderful curriculum. I'm sorry, I have a hard time saying that. Curriculum. It's like, it's really a struggle. Or study. It's just a tongue twister. I understand that the Los Angeles Rams won the Super Bowl. Okay. Sorry, I am top management. Hire everyone of all skills and train and mentor employees. Curriculum. Okay. I think what it is, whenever there's a CU, I automatically want to go curriculum. Listen, I'm from an island. Please don't make fun of me. Please. I promise you. But I do love that you guys break it down for me so I can say it correctly. Curriculum. Thank you. Curriculum. Wow. I don't know why the CR, like in my mind, I had to say cur for some reason. Maybe because I'm from Hawaii. I don't know. I grew up around Asian people my whole life. So I do have a hard time saying something. Curriculum. Dang it. You know what I mean. Curriculum. CRT is not taught in K through 12 schools. It's a law school theory. That's actually a good point. And the people that have come through to say that if it was taught on some type of soft level in elementary school, it's very basic. It's not deep. They're not bringing Amistad and talking about Auschwitz and stuff like that, even in history class. It's very basic. My kids have learned things about, Thanksgiving, and it's like a parade for them. They get to really enjoy all the fluffy parts, but they don't really get deep into it in their curriculum. There you go. CRT is an outdated and failed years ago. MAFIFO, college level, and specialized studies, not for kids. That's your opinion. I don't think it's failed. I think it's an amazing study, but you can believe what you want. CRT isn't history, it's theory. Okay, so we have lots of trolls here. So let's talk about CRT. CRT is an acronym for critical race theory. Okay, so it's not a argument, that it's a theory. Okay, but what is it? Let's talk about it. I feel like I'm in in like some type of school, because literally people are just really inappropriate pertaining to this topic. So CRT is a common abbreviation for critical race theory, which refers to a way of analyzing systems, institutions, and power through a lens of race and racism. Okay, which is something that a lot of stats already do. I mean, if you look right now under the FBI stats, you'll see crime broken down by race. And the theory is what you would like to, I guess, say about that situation. So, for instance, drunk driving in America is predominantly run, unfortunately, by the white race. Okay, theory is maybe there is just more of them, right? Which is why it seems like they're doing more of that. But a lot of it could be due to alcohol or consumptions, or, maybe because they have had a head start and have more money to consume alcohol. Maybe, or maybe in the judicial system, they don't have harsher crimes. They probably have a high probability of getting away with it. So, that's what critical race theory is. It basically looks at a race and then gives you a theory. You don't really have to agree or anything. That's just what I got from that definition. But I do think it does get deeper than that. And I'll try to go into a website.org that can further break it down. Auto disadvantage. Wait, what? I'm all for Black history in school, 1,000, but not telling my kids they are at a disadvantage. More money to consume alcohol. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unlimited amounts, actually, probably. The mere fact is, it's literally a fact that white people in this country do a lot of drinking and driving. So, I mean, if you want to dig down deep into that, I mean, we can. I could pull up the stats and then we can talk about it. But I'm not going to say that other races aren't doing it, but there is a proportion of crime and things of that nature that are going to make it seem like white people are doing a lot of crime. 70% of all crime. Well, there's more of them. There's like 80%, 72 to 80. I just saw a recent stat. It said 80% of our country is run is dwelling with white people, which is not a bad thing. I don't know why white people just don't own it. Like, just own it. Like, we know it. Like, we know we're minorities and we say we're minorities. So to say, there's a lot of you guys. There's a lot of you guys here. Okay. So that's an advantage. Just point blank clear. If this country had a dwelling of 80% Black people, we would have an advantage. I'm pretty sure everything culturally on our standards would be met. Okay. So, the mere fact is, just don't be fragile about the truth. That is what it is. Okay. How did it come that way? When there was Native Americans here and they're not here as much? Well, we could talk about smallpox blankets if you want. We could talk about the Trail of Tears. We can talk about, hundreds and centuries of years of oppression for them, as well as other races here in this country who perpetuated that. I mean, you cannot be fragile about freaking history. Okay. And that's what critical race theory is. Okay. You can't just sit here and look at the world and say, wow, there's 72 to 80%, whichever stat you got, and say, wow, how did this happen? Because I'm pretty sure if you're Irish, you're from Ireland. I'm pretty sure if you're Scottish, you're from Scotland. I'm pretty sure if you're from Poland, you're Polish. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you get to America? This was a Native American run country. You understand? And there are some people that will say that there was a mixture of African Americans here already before the slave transatlantic trade. So, we could keep going around this circle, but it's not going to negate the facts You understand what I mean? And it's kind of funny to me whenever you state the facts pertaining to proportions, whenever you state the facts of what has happened to us, then we're called victims. Then we're called we're too much into our feelings. Then we're called stuck in the past. When we are stating the truth and the facts of what has come to pass and why things are the way that they are. If you did not benefit for centuries of a head start, then you need to go back to your freaking history line and figure out what went wrong. Because as far as I'm concerned, after the, let's see, what date can I say? Let's see. Pretty much since y'all got here. I mean, I'm not going to say that it was good for the Irish indentured servants, okay, because it wasn't. They had a very hard time getting jobs. They had a very hard time assimilating here in America. And Polish as well. But, you know, at some point, they combined all the races that were European and decided, hey, listen, we're better together, okay? Literally, that freaking happened. Because what the heck is white race? What is white? What is that? If you go to Ireland, they don't call themselves white people. If you go to Scotland, they don't say Scottish. If you go to Scotland, they don't say white people. If you go to Poland, they don't say white people. They're Polish. They're Irish. They're Slovakian. They're Albanian. They're Italian. Do you understand? At some point, people in America had come together and tried to make a science out of inferior and making people inferior. They had to make it okay to treat African Americans like chattel, like property. It's in our law, it's in our history, and the only way that they could get away with doing that is to justify what they were doing. Well, they were savages. We come here to give them the truth, the Bible. They completely manipulated Christianity to get people to control. So, you know, if you want to sit here and act like a freaking victim, then go ahead and do this. But what you will never do is call me one. And what I'll never allow is for you to call my people one. Okay? Okay. You can say that we make excuses. Hi, friend. How are you? Um,
Hey, hey, friend, how
you
you
can
doing? I just want
say that we make excuses for why we can't get out of situations now. I've seen that, which is why I've been a little disheartened at the mere fact that when I say, hey, listen, if you do this, this, and this, and if we give you the tools to do this and this, you don't need a reparations. You don't need to be in that underfunded town. I can help you move. I literally have a career to do it. And when people keep making excuses saying things that don't exist, like redlining, I'm like, yo, wait a minute. I understand that you're in a position that you can't move forward just yet, but you cannot blame redlining. Redlining has been illegal since 1968. Like, I get that. I get that there is some type of education that is needed in these communities, and that's what I have aspirations to do. But anyway, today our debate is CRT.
good evening, friend. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
I just wanted to come in here and address somebody I saw in your comments real quick.
Go
I
on
ain't gonna,
ahead.
but it's a guy. His
Just
name
please
is
don't cuss and just like
no, no,
just
no, no.
yeah. If you
Very
want me to block him, just let me know and I'll get rid of
no,
him
no,
real
no,
quick.
no, no.
Okay.
Because I think he needs to be educated.
Okay.
Dave Canuck, I think that's how you say that. Well, he's saying like you guys want handouts or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not even. The
Nope.
government has paid several nations of people reparations. The government has paid the Jewish reparations for the Holocaust, and we've never did anything to the Jewish people as Americans. They paid the Chinese, they paid the Indians, they have paid Asian Americans, they paid everyone except for black people. But the only people that they have stolen money from, literally, the United States government shut down the Freedmen's Bank. And when they shut down the Freedmen's Bank, they stole the equivalent of a couple $1 trillion right now. So to say black people want handouts, no, we just want our just desserts like everyone else gets. And I think you need to educate yourself and your posterities. And one way to do that is to put out real history. They call it critical race theory, but it's actual true history. So, and I'm gonna wrap it up right now. the Native Americans. They declassified the original Native Americans who were people of a darker hue skin tone. The evidence of this is the Stoneheads of North America, in order not to pay people of darker color. Because when you finance a people, you can't oppress a people. So I just think this guy probably needs to educate himself a little bit more. And I'm done, friend. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Please come back if you have any more thoughts. We're gonna be here about an hour.
I'll sit here and watch.
Okay, maybe if you feel, I round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to read here, and I'll keep people coming on. This is just a very lovely topic. I feel privileged. I feel Black privileged to talk about this topic with honor. Martin Luther King Jr., Angela Davis, so many, even Malcolm X, people of my race did this, and I get to do it on social media. I'm very honored. I don't think that I'm Angela Davis, but just to be able to do what she did, or what she might be still doing. Is Angela Davis still alive? I need to look that up. But she's one of my idols. Angela May, right? Oh my goodness, I gotta get her name wrong. I'll be messing everybody's name wrong. Okay, real quick, let me just say, Maya Angelou. I'm sorry, it came to me. Let me just say this on a scholarly level, because I'm not gonna just sit here and just get everybody's opinions. I want you guys to learn a little bit, and I learned too. There's things that I don't know. Meanwhile, when questioned about CRT being taught in elementary and secondary schools, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, did I say her name right? Psaki, the P is silent.
Or Raggedy Ann, whichever you prefer.
Okay. Said that kids should, learn about, the redhead, the one that's the speaker for Biden. Right, okay. Said that kids should, hold on. What? Sure, 1 second. The kids should learn about our history, not just the good, but also the challenging. So let's talk about Psaki real quick. She is a white woman saying this. With that, just let that sink in. And I'll let me just say one more paragraph, and I'd love to know Red Omega's thoughts, and I'm sure you guys would too. According to a Reuters something, only 57% of Americans say they are familiar with CRT. And of those, a third believe that the theory says that white people are inherently bad or evil, which is a complete, full blown out narrative from the right. I don't think that's any African American's goal. I honestly can say this as an African American woman. Okay, both my parents are Black, just so you know. I could have some other things, but both of them are Black, to just let you know. I'm going to say this as a full Black woman, so stop freaking trying to jack up my race. I don't think Black people give a damn enough to hate white people. Am I wrong for saying that? Like, it's not in our spirit. It's what I'm saying. It's not in our culture. There are some Black people, don't get me wrong, that are resentful, bitter, maybe even prejudiced because of this resentment over time of not being heard, not accepting feedback. But I don't think that there's any hate in their body. That's just my opinion. And then let me just say one thing. And while much of the debate, which this is a debate, about CRT in schools is happening on the school district level, the National Association of Educators supported the instruction of CRT, recently asserting it is reasonable and appropriate for a curriculum to be informed by academic frameworks for understanding and interpreting the impact of the past of current society, including critical race theory. But what is CRT really? And what kind of changes to America's laws, culture, and customs do CRT adherents envision? The new center decided to dig into the work of the scholars who developed CRT, as well as its most prominent contemporary advocates, and to explain in their own words the implications that follows. We're going to go over them tonight. And I'm going to get my son some water, and you can take the floor with 82 people here. Thank you guys for coming. Go ahead. Tell them what you think. Answer some comments. I'll be back.
All right. So two things I want to make a point, and I'll get with Andrea whenever she gets back. But the gentleman earlier. There's a difference between restitution and reparations. Just so that we're clear, restitution is legal, and reparations is compensation for losses. Or sorry, restitution is compensation for losses, and reparations is a payment of time, effort, or money to undo past transgressions. So I just want to make a clarification between restitution and reparations. One's legal and the other one's past transgressions. So CRT is a Marxist, the Marxist movement for victimhood, and it inherently keeps the black community down, because they want CRT wants people to believe that CRT has nothing to do with Black History. That's not the case. Every school has Black History Month. I had Black History Month all through my school, all through my years. There was never a time where I didn't learn about Martin Luther King, where I didn't learn about Harriet Tubman. There's not a time where I didn't learn about anybody black. CRT, which is a Marxist movement, and Marxism has failed every society.
Can you explain what your description of Marxist is? Because labeling the movement, as far as, let me just tell you guys this isn't just a something that was plucked out of nowhere. As I'm reading in here, this was a curriculum that was created academically by professional scholars, scholars who developed the CRT. So these are people with probably doctorates in societal change and things of that nature. What is Marxist to you? And then I will tell you what it means to me.
So I'll give you the literal definition, and then it's the political and economical theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, later developed by their followers to form the basis for the theory and practice of communism. So Marxism, communism, they don't work.
Well, you're getting into a deeper level. So basically, what you said, which I don't agree with, like I do agree, like I'm not disagreeing. What what you think is Marxism, which is pretty interesting to me, that you know what it is, yet you say it in such a negative notation, like people on the right and in the middle. So basically, well, let me just say this. So basically, this Marxism thing came out into play when the leaders of the BLM, the nonprofit organization, had said that they said that they I don't believe she said she was a Marxist. I think she said she was like she was being trained in it, or something like that.
So she was a leader, some type of leadership. She was in some type of leadership, and they implement Marxist ideals in
Okay, so can you just tell me this? Where were black people when Karl Marx, which is the most influential person literally in history, they have said this guy, so that term Marxist, if you didn't know this, if you're young and you hear people say that word in a negative notation, they get that from a man named Karl Marx, and they get it from him because he had a theory that there was a gap between the bourgeoisie and the proletariats. Now, what is that? The bourgeoisie are the elites today, and the proletariats are everyday working class people like us. So it's really tied to classism, not race. Okay, during that time, let me see, when Karl Marx, I mean, this was a long time ago. Karl Marx,
19th century.
He is from the 19. Let's see when he's. Well, I just want to get the exact time he was born. So he died in March of 1883. He was born 1818. So if you look at that era of which were African Americans were here in America, we were here since the 1700s and probably prior to that, but they don't ever want to tell you that. That's what CRT is all about. You will understand that we weren't considered citizens until 1877. So during this theory, I believe that black people were not even thought of pertaining to this theory. I don't even think he looked at black people. This was all about classism in this country, which what still exists still to this day. So he had a theory from the 1800s that's a reality for us still to this day. And right now, I believe we've creating a revolution because people are getting tired of the gap between the rich and the poor. So when somebody says that you're a Marxist or a practicing Marxist, you're just somebody that sees the gap between the rich and the poor. That's all it is, and we want to close that gap for people that do follow those type of teachings. And by doing that, you will understand exploitation is a problem, and so is corruption. And I don't think anybody here in America will deny that that has happened historically and possibly still happening still to this day. So I just want everybody to know that just because it's said in a negative notion, it doesn't mean that it's negative.
So let
Go
me
ahead.
just one point is that so a lot of times you talk about slaves, okay? So at one point, whenever you were a free slave, you were offered 40 acres and a mule, right?
Did we get
That
that?
was well, no, I'm just saying that was an
Wasn't that
op
another
that
false promise?
well, I mean, there's false promises across the board, but I'm just saying that is what we were taught, right? We can agree to that. That this is what we were taught.
Taught what?
That if you were a free slave, you get 40 acres and mule.
But did we? Did our ancestors get
That's
that?
not that's not my question.
But you're
My
saying,
question
oh,
is
you're saying
that
that's what was taught.
right. That was
Um,
taught, right.
I think, yeah, I guess as a part of a historical
Right.
stamp, yeah.
So a lot of people would say that's some type of inheritance, right? But
It should have been, but we didn't get it.
well,
I don't
yeah.
think.
So the thing is that with Marxism, inheritance is abolished. This theory, this ideal, doesn't allow for people to actually own anything. The government controls everything, to include property, to include businesses. So you can't have the capitalistic community that we have today if you have Marxism, because the government is going to control everything. And if anybody's ever seen this iconic video with President Putin, where he makes a CEO of a business sign a document. He makes him do it. In the United States, that is not possible, and it is not going to happen. The government cannot tell a CEO what to do, what to sign with his own business.
Okay, can I jump in real quick?
Sorry. Yeah. Now my mic's not going to
Okay.
work. I hate when people call me.
So this is the thing about Marxism. Marxism is only a financial system to implement socialism. A common example you can look at today would be the people in North Korea. North Korea has pretty much a socialist government. They tell the people what to do. And
that's more of a dictatorship.
Okay, but it's still the same system. It may have a different name, but it's the same system.
No, every different type of societal societal name. So capitalism, communism, socialism, dictatorships, monarchies. They all have a different way of running a government. And
Okay,
there's only been two that have been successful.
Okay. Just let me finish my point, and then I'll let you talk, if you don't mind.
Thank you for letting me talk. I appreciate it.
Okay. So the system of Marxism is only financial. It's the financial means to implement the socialist control of the government. It's a two-part system. You can't have a car running without fuel. Marxism is the fuel for that system. That don't make it good. That don't make it bad. It's just that system. I also wanted to address another point, right? So you said you learned about Black people throughout Black History Month everywhere. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. Tell me what you know about Sarah Bartman. Tell me what you know about Henrietta Lacks. Tell me what you know about Huey P. Newton. Tell me what you know about Madam C.J. Walker. There are a list of great known black people that have not been explained throughout our system of education. But that is also a system. It was developed by the Rockefellers, the same people who want to institute communism and Marxism in order to benefit their family. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it wrong. It is what it is. I'm done.
So my question is, so your question was about.
Wait, hold on. Before you answer that question, people are right. We will go back to CRT, but you have to understand that there's so many layers to it
It's
that
fluid.
sometimes we do get derailed. I promise you, after this last statement from Red_Omega, we'll go back to CRT. Go ahead.
So like the thing is in school curriculum, you can't fit everything into that curriculum. You just can't. There is not enough time in the day, and there is not enough time in the year. It's not possible.
12 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
The thing is that you talked about these people during that weren't as iconic as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and things like that. But also, you can say the same thing about economics. When did anybody learn how to buy a house? When did anybody learn
When
about
I went to real estate
taxes?
school?
Well, I know, but it wasn't in high school.
No,
I
but it
didn't
should
learn
be
about-
taught in high school.
It
I
should
wish
be
I could
in
go to
high
high schools and teach people how
I
to do that, but
completely
go ahead.
agree. You should be able to do taxes. You should be able to buy your house. You should be able to invest. But those things are not taught. You're taught.
Can I say this?
algebra.
Don't you think CRT can be a gateway intellectual
Springboard.
opening for more extracurriculum curriculum subjects to get inputted in that?
I
If,
don't know
if the
it would
world
be
will be open to
beneficial.
CRT, maybe they'll be open to trade schools. Maybe they'll be open to life skills. I'm telling you right now, my daughter gets straight A's, but sometimes she doesn't know how to do the basic things because I've been babying her whole life.
And
Sorry.
I don't think it would be beneficial, especially whenever in CRT, it is the white people that are inherently bad across the board. They're
Okay, so let's
racist,
talk
they're
about that.
sexist,
Let's
they're
talk about that
everything.
real quick, because my kids are biracial, and I want them to know both sides. I realized I had a conversation with my kids, my older ones, and I realized my kids are becoming more and more whitewashed to where they don't really even want to talk about anything black. And I'm like, hold the hell up. But how do you think I felt being the only black girl in my whole school during history for what, 12 years, being
Right.
told that I am a part of oppression, that I've been a part of a whole race pretty much beating, raping, enslaving, and damaging our communities. My whole life, I've been taught not only through school, but also in college, also in my day-to-day life as I'm trying to succeed in my own endeavors, that I am
Right.
inferior, that I'm always going to be a black woman first, that is a part of this horrible history. And then let's talk about the psychology. My great grandmother raised me. My family, I'm from an island, so my great grandmother lived in our house at one point, and my grandmother lived across the hall. So there was 3 generations and I'm their oldest granddaughter, that I got to be around and got to hear the stories of my great grandmother. And she used to make me sleep next to her because she would get Charlie horses in her knees, and her feet, her leg would cramp up. So she would say, "Andrea, come lay next to me," and I'd have to push her leg up. So how do you think I feel? I'm living with a woman that went through Jim Crow. I'm living with a woman whose mother was a freaking slave in Texas, and I'm going to school and I'm seeing what they have done to my people. That was infuriating. I walked out of history class one day because all these white kids were. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. My sister keeps calling me. That's another island thing that we do. We'll just keep freaking calling. Is that a black thing or an island thing? I don't freaking know. But they'll just keep
Probably a
freaking
black-
calling me. What'd you say?
Probably a black thing.
Oh my God. It's like freaking get out of here already. But yeah, so I walked out of class. The first time I learned about Auschwitz and Amistad was in school. So how is that fair for it to be taught my whole life that I'm inferior, that I'm a part of this horrible oppression, yet they can't even handle the thought of them being a part of a race that perpetuated that pain? That's not fair. So that's why I always say this. If you don't like CRT, then guess what? Get rid of history. Let that be an extra curriculum. I think
We
I
can
said it
do
right that
we
time.
can we can do exactly like Germany did, and we can just ban everything. I
No,
mean, if
Well,
we
that
want to
no,
be
but,
that
but
oppressive,
that
we could
wouldn't
do
do
that.
anything. That wouldn't fix
Well,
anything.
I mean, I mean, as
Go
far as
ahead,
what you're saying, as far as what
Twan Bergs.
yeah.
Is it
So
Twan Bergs?
let's talk about. We want to talk about okay, the great philosophers. We want to talk about Pythagoras and the Pythagorean theorem, Pythagorean theory. Well, before Pythagoras knew anything in Greece, he went to Africa in order to be educated on all these subjects. They like to start black people's history at slavery, but black people were great before, during, and after slavery. So black people invented science, engineering, math, technology. The whole STEM program comes from black people. But
But can
they
I
will
say this
tell you,
though? Oh, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
go
I
ahead,
didn't mean to cut you off.
go ahead, go ahead.
But what I don't want to happen is for us. Okay, so last year, let me just say this. Last year, I did a whole like segment about inventions that Black people made. I was amazed. You know, I grew up on an
Right,
island. I didn't know this that we
right,
made peanut butter and the
right.
hot
No,
comb
I
and the relaxer. I just relaxed my hair. Thank the Lord
yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
That guy created that on accident. Created what is it called? The light that the traffic light.
Right.
Just
Erica,
so many, huh?
Erica did
The
everything
air
people
conditioner,
knew.
all these things, and I didn't know that we were capable of doing all these things. A doctor during there was a doctor that did the first heart open heart surgery. Just
Ben
so many amazing
Carson.
things. Yeah, and they never talked about it in school, which is kind of amazing to me. But what I don't want, listen, I'm not a right wing person, but I'm able to see the other side. I do see a lot of pro African, or is it Pan African people that are like really extremely pro African. They will say that that we created everything. There is a sense of ownership and entitlement to that. I don't want that. I just want credit where credit is due. Now we did recreate and reinvent a lot of those things. But there was a sense of attacking me for saying that we were reinventing things.
That's
Like,
right.
it's kind of amazing to me. People were
Yeah.
like, you didn't invent that. Like the guitar. There's an African American man. I don't remember all their names because I did a lot of them.
Right.
He created a certain type of guitar, and I did a whole segment on him about how he created it and everything. And people are like, he didn't create the guitar. The guitar was made somewhere else. And
The
then I was like,
banjo,
huh?
the
It,
banjo is a African instrument that when they came to America, they started the hillbilly. But that's black all day long.
Yeah, and blues, and not only blues, country music. When people tell me,
Rock
"Oh
and
my God, Dre,
roll.
you do you like country music?" I'm like, yeah, we invented that. It was stolen, okay? And just so many things that we do, we don't get credit for. So, what do you think that tells these kids when they grow up? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing being taught about all the greatness that we've been a part of, and possibly the Egyptian era. I really do believe if you look at some of those pictures, those hieroglyphics, I remember studying that when I was in school, and I saw the way that they braided their hair, and some of
Right.
their faces were painted black. I said, oh my God, I was the only black girl in my school, and my mom always did my hair in braids. That's why I don't wear braids, because I always had them every school picture. You guys will see me
Beads.
with
So
the
I just
Jinko
want to,
pants and thing. So
I want to,
why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about our greatness? Go ahead.
I want to address two comments that I saw that stuck
Go
out.
ahead.
Somebody said that I was a dropout. No, I'm not a dropout. And I lived in Germany for 2 years, and I'm very well versed on how Germany works. Okay, and then
Schwanbergers, can I let somebody on here, and then can you come back, please? Because you are really just giving me the knowledge today.
Yes, but let me say this before
Okay,
I
go
go.
ahead. Go ahead.
In Germany, when you go to their biggest churches, they have the Black Madonna in there, and I'm done.
I hope you come back though. You need to circle back.
and
Let's.
number two, I just have a resting bitch face,
Uh,
just so that everybody knows.
uh, you're not doing the dance though. Usually when people hate on him, he just like half smile. He's like, yeah, hate on me. He's got thick skin. I love that. So do I sometimes. It does get to you guys. You know,
I
let's try to
have
be
to.
nice
I
and
have
smoothly
to
bummed.
be. I have to be in my line of work. I mean, 15 years I've been called everything under the sun.
Yeah.
So
Well, what are you gonna do?
Now, I agree with
Hey,
you.
what's up, universe? 1969.
Hey, I agree with you most to the point, man, especially about CRT. But what things I have a problem with, a lot of Caucasians or people from the Europe
Ooh,
hello.
where'd you go?
with you because it hurts their pride.
I'm sorry.
They
Can you repeat that? You cut out.
cannot swallow their pride and put black people in, associated with something that's successful, that helped them come along. Even this guy here, he's in denial. He's just not going to give black people credit, period. He
Who's in
just
denial?
You do use straw man arguments a lot.
Well, I'm just asking who's in denial and what am I in denial about?
Because you just don't want to sit there and just say point blank that, we accredited America for having so much successful history.
When did I say that?
It's in your face. It's in your language. We can read it.
I have a resting bitch face, so you can't say
No.
that it's in my face. My face is like this all the time.
And what he's saying, I have to agree with him. I do. Let me say this one. I respect him with. Like, I really do enjoy our collaboration.
Yes.
But our collaboration is a cool dynamic, is because we're complete opposites in
Right.
political realms. And your stance, you stand strong on the right rhetoric points. It's very prevalent.
This for our sake, we cannot wait on these Caucasians in America to teach CRT. We have to do it ourselves.
That's a solution, y'all. Wow, we never get solutions. That's amazing.
Period.
Then why is it that there are black people that are voting against CRT? Like, why is that a thing that's happening?
Well, because look at
Such
what
a
you're
big deal.
doing. Look what you've done. Look what you
Are they
keep doing.
whitewashed?
Look what you keep doing, Red underscore Mega.
I'm asking.
I mean,
if
I
black
sometimes
people-
have to remind myself that you're half black. And the fact that people come out the pocket like I'm not I am very happy to be black. Okay, so it's just kind of amazing to me that you don't understand that there are. Listen, every culture, every race has a sellout.
Yeah.
What are those? They have opportunities. It's literally a individual choice. If somebody wants to freaking be selfish in this world, there are selfish people in this world. There are people that are like, you know what? If Donald Trump gave me $1 billion, I would vote Republican. I'd be on all the freaking marches. I don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? Some people can be bought with the idea of pushing forward. That's just what happens. I would never sell out. No way.
So I get called Uncle Tom all the time. I get called a coon. I get called a race traitor.
But why? Don't you think that's coming from somewhere though, Red?
No, I don't think. I think it's coming from society. I think it's coming from a narrative. I think it's coming from mainstream media because it's okay for a white person and a black person to call somebody on the right any name. Now, let me tell you what. If anybody from the right said anything remotely close to coon, let me tell you, the streets would be on fire.
Let me tell you this. That is literally a Southern term. As an African American raised in the United States of America, let me tell you something. I have never used that word. I can't believe black people use that word. That word needs to be banned immediately. Let me tell you something. That is just the most disgusting thing. I've heard black people say raccoon if you are a black person that comes out the pocket, or because they think that you're half. But at the end of the day, that was a caricature that was made fun of. It was meant to perpetuate statistics that were a narrative about black people. It was meant to demonize black people. It's a very, I mean, if you don't like the N word, calling somebody the C word is even worse to me. Go do me a favor. Look at the caricature of the coon. He had big lips. I was teased with my lips growing up. He had huge lips. They always make fun of our noses. George Floyd last year, disgusting behavior on the right, when making fun of George Floyd's nose. That's disgusting. That was a part of that caricature. Lazy. Everything the far right wing people say is perpetuated by that caricature, the coon. Let me tell you something. They talk about our noses. They talk about us being lazy. They talk about us making excuses. They talk about us being victims. They're just perpetuating an old ideology that is trying to demonize us.
So it's just the right. It's not just white people, right?
It's
just the right.
No,
so that's the white and black people on the right side.
Well, listen, you have a choice to pick a political party that is left, center, or right. Okay.
Well, you
And
also have independents, and you have a liberal, and then you have
yeah,
the
absolutely.
Green Party, and you
But
have everybody
it's
else.
it's mainly being done
My
and
message
perpetuated by the right. Go ahead.
is we have to start teaching CRT ourselves as a whole, because if we wait on society and
Yeah.
the media or whoever, the president or governors, whoever, they're not gonna do it because they
What does CRT mean to you,
uncritical,
Universe?
because we have to unfold history as it really existed, not from a white point of view, which they lied about Columbus and everything else that we've been taught in school forever. We have to get down to the root of it and find out what it means for us as a whole. Because if we wait on these clear folks to teach us the real history from what we know is true, we're gonna be waiting forever.
I feel like you want to use another word other than
I do.
clear.
No, well,
I was gonna say Caucasian.
yeah, but why
I,
would you make him feel bad for things that? Okay, so how old are you, Universe? Do you mind if I ask you how old you are?
I'm 55.
So you're 55. So you literally were born 5 year. Well, right? Am I right? During the Jim Crow law.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
You
And
were
if,
born 19. Wait. When were you born?
I was born in '67, and I'll be
Oh,
55.
1967. So
Yeah.
redlining was still going on when you were born.
It's
Okay.
still,
And huh?
it still exists today.
I don't no, it doesn't. It really doesn't though. It doesn't. It doesn't exist. However, there is a, what do you call that, after, there's an aftermath of that still exists today. So to me it reminds me much of like Palestine, how they've been bombed on, and how they've been doing that, and then the people are left in the rubble, left with the crap, and they can't leave because there's an apartheid going on. They can't leave that area. So I believe the same thing's happening in predominant black neighborhoods, except for they can leave but they can't because of economical reasons.
Yeah,
But I hear you.
I can
But I
go.
hear you.
I can
The
go.
damage is still being done. Yeah, I do believe that there is a economical apartheid in this country. Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
my message is that we can't wait for it to start to start.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a need to keep asking other races to fix things for us, to give us things. I think we need a centrality of our people. We need a centralization of us. It's a solidarity is a better word, of us coming together and really making our culture a pillar to
Who's
our communities.
who's us? Who's us? Number one. Who's
African
us?
Americans, people who identify as African Americans.
So black people in America, and then what is culture? Like why? What?
So culture.
Why is the definition of culture in the United States different than anywhere else?
Well, for one, we allow society to keep changing it over years. Because every 10 years we black, we African American, colored.
Colored.
Let society dictate who you are. That's the number one problem. But then again, when we allow society to tell us what to think, how to think, when to think, we're gonna always be right. So until we start teaching our own kids about Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman on how we see it, we ain't gonna never fix nothing. Waiting
Right.
fight society, got this problem. Period.
Right. There you go. Thank you, Universe.
All right.
I hope you circle back if you feel compelled to do so. Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, I like that you're solution driven. That's what's up.
Thank you.
Our girl Angie is back. Let me just say this real quick. Another thing. So this is from Richard Delgado. The critical race theory movement is a collection of activists and scholars interested in studying and transforming the relationship among race, racism, and power. Unlike traditional civil rights, which embraces incrementalism and step-by-step progress, critical race theory questions the very foundations of the liberal order, including equality theory, legal reasons, Enlightenment rationalism, and neutral principles of constitutional law. Racism is ordinary, not aberrational. Our system of white over color. See, listen, I need to go back to college because y'all
So
got these words are crazy. Hold on. Ascendancy services important purposes, both psychic and so it's just like the study of race and theory. Go ahead.
so CRT is actually a Harvard level course, and it's like their third year of being in Harvard Law that they actually take that course if they want.
Oh,
It is
wow.
not a system to be taught in middle schools or elementary schools or anything like that. People keep trying to act like um, inclusion and diversity training is the same thing as CRT. They are not the same. They don't live in the same spectrum. They don't do the same thing. Trying to teach diversity and inclusion says, hey, accept other people for who they are, live and let live, right? Let me tell you why what you're doing sounds weird or offensive to that person, and let me explain to you why what they're doing isn't offensive and rude to them. So he tries to show everybody, like, hey, this is this perspective, this is that perspective. You don't have to get offended at, let's say, the Confederate flag, right? I've learned that a lot of people believe that that is their history, that is their culture, right?
Heritage or something.
They put it up because they feel my grandfather fought in the Confederate Army. I honor my grandfather, so I wave my flag. People who fought on the American side and Black people and Hispanic people, people who are minorities, see that and go, the KKK used that as a trope to let me know where I don't belong. So that's how I see it. But instead of going, hey, let's see both perspectives and let me see you as an individual and try to figure this out, we go, no, you're all wrong. And the other side is, nah, you're all wrong. We're right, you're wrong. Instead of trying to find a medium ground, like a place where we can all just have a conversation and try to understand each other, right? We don't want to do that because
Well, it's
we
not that
live
we
in
don't
the
want to do that, but then the side that's all about inclusion and inclusiveness is not. As soon as you say a certain word or do a certain thing or try to have a conversation, it's a complete shutdown. You're a racist, you're a sexist, you're some kind of ism, you're some kind of ist. It doesn't matter. We can't have an intellectual conversation because we're going to be called some type of slur or we're going to be called some type of ist.
So my thing is this, right? You're not wrong, but you're also in a lot of ways right because you're supposed to be called a racist if you do racist things. The thing is that you may not know that what you're doing is racist and people get stuck on the ism instead of going, okay, I got what you're saying, move on from that. What lesson are you trying to teach me? People aren't trying to teach each other lessons. People are just wanting to scream and expose their rage because they've been holding on to it for so long. So like white people are mad, right? People are like, oh my God, you guys are trying to squash us down. That's not true. We just want to share space. We want to share space and not be looked down on. Whereas the culture in America, right, is capitalism, right? Because in America, we value money and property more than we value people. And because we don't value people, we don't care about meeting them halfway and trying to understand what they're saying. All we want to do is make our money and fuck you, bro. It's my house. Don't come into my house. I'll shoot you. I'll kill you. I'll take your life. You know why? Because your life don't have value.
Right.
Yeah.
So
wow. I agree. That's I think that's the sickness in society. And you know who's perpetuating that more than anything? It's really the Black community too. That classism has no color. Everybody does it. Yeah.
We all do it. Every single group. And the thing is that we are so far removed from our foundings because people constantly forget that we come from a monarchy. The founding fathers of this country came here because they didn't want to pay the king any money. They were like, fuck you, I'm not paying you no more. I live over here. When this country was created, it was 13 colonies. We were not supposed to go beyond those 13 colonies. You know what we did here in America? Fuck you, king. We're going to do what we want. We had a war, got our freedoms, and then said, you know what, to hell with all these agreements. You didn't agree with us. And even though you taught us how to survive, we will decimate you. You know why? Because we value money over people.
Capitalism.
2 points.
So that's
we
why
bring up-
classism
we bring up
is really
colleges.
the core issue. Go ahead. What did
We
you
bring
say?
up colleges, and then so Harvard, who is inherently racist against Asian Americans, just to put that out there. And then secondly, the
Do you know the history of Harvard?
secondly
I don't.
clip
Read a book called
that
Stamped.
goes through
Stamped?
that goes through where there is a black female telling white guys that this is a space that they're not supposed to be in. What
Listen,
if that
I'm
was a
from
white
up
guy?
north.
What if that
where-
was a white guy or a white person saying, "Hey, excuse me, this is not a space that you're supposed to be in. You need to leave."
So this has happened to me on both sides because I'm Hispanic, right? I'm Latina. And so some people see me and they're like, that's a mixed black girl. Other people see me and they're like, that's a Hispanic. Different people see me different ways. So I
And
have
I'm the
had,
same way as you are. They
right,
think
I
I'm
have had-
Dominican or Puerto Rican, but
right,
I'm
I'm Dominican, but I'm one of the few Dominicans that will tell you that I'm Afro-Dominican. I'm Afro-Latina because you can see the blackness in my face. Like, it's not like you can't hide it. And I don't want to hide it because I'd be like,
Yeah, because there's
negating,
some Dominicans
like-
that I'm like, no, you definitely
Yeah.
mix with black.
we'll get on them in a minute, but yeah. But my thing is, like, I've had, like, when I moved to Texas, I saw some guy and he looked like he might be Hispanic. I was like, I'm new to Houston and I'm trying to meet people, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm from Jersey. Where you from? He was like, I'm a Houston. I'm a coon shooting boogie. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is. I'm going to go back to this conversation over here. I later on Googled it, and it's like this Aryan Nation song of white men who want to rape all non-white women and murder the men. And I'm like, yo, you men are violent and crazy, right? But I've also had the experience with black Israelites that call me a piece of shit because I'm mixed, because I am tainted with white blood. So it's both extremes are wrong. The thing is that if we keep focusing on the extremes, on everybody that's wrong, we'll never make the middle group big enough to push those points out. Like, they're always gonna be there. The fringe will always be there. But if we find a way to, like, get along, we can fix it.
We'll never be able to do that because history will always.
See, I don't say never. Don't say
No,
never.
yeah.
history will always.
I can't say never.
History
Because
repeats itself because people don't learn the lessons that history teaches. And that's why history repeats itself. Because nobody wants to learn from the past. Like, yo, the fact that the Spanish king went to visit Puerto Rico just to, like, remind them that they had 500 years of colonization. Like, yo, you are mad disrespectful. Like, when people tell Hispanic people that they don't speak Spanish, so they're not really Hispanic, yo, don't be mad at me because I don't speak the language of my colonizer. Like, how are you going to be mad at me and tell me that I'm not good enough because I don't speak the language of the people who came here and raped and pillaged?
See, that's why there are
They raped and pillaged everywhere
across the world.
Okay, so let's get back to the CRT though. The implications of CRT, because there was a TikTok girl who came from me when all I did was sis, I want you to come back, circle back. I just want to give more people some chances. If I boot you, just come back. It's nothing personal.
And I do want
the
change,
implications.
by the way.
Hold on.
I do want change. I'm just commenting I'm just making comments.
I just like Red from
I don't want change. I do.
Red, I just want you to be able to accept the feedback because you don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with anybody. It's your human right to. I'm just saying this as a friend to do and believe what you want. That is also that's just a God-given right. But if you accept some of this feedback, it's going to make you a better person. You're going to be. That's why my sign is a diamond, because I believe if we chip away at you, you're going to be an amazing Samaritan. But not only that, an amazing cop. You have a job here that is really important and a really good part of where you could interject somehow and save some black people's lives, man. And even white people. Cops are killing us. Okay?
Well,
and they're not supposed to be doing that.
That's not entirely true, but also I am for common sense. If you make a very good, logical, common sense argument, I can get on board with it. But then whatever basis of that conversation is from socialism, Marxism, and is a blame transfer mechanism, or is based off of victimhood, I can't understand it.
Yeah, but you got to understand, saying that, But
of
saying
this
a
perpetual.
marginalized group of people, do you know how offensive that is to go to somebody or a group of people that are literally being abused by society for hundreds of freaking years and say you're a victim? Victim blaming, victim
thing
bashing
is that
is
what
really
is
a
it-
disgusting behavior
What is
that
it that a
needs to
black
be
person?
stopped.
What is it in today in the United States that a black person can't do that a white person can?
There's a lot of things that they can't
What?
do
What
because
what
listen,
can't a black person do that a
what
white
it's
person
not
can?
really what a black person can't do. It's really some people that are black, some people that are white have a disadvantage because of their environment. That's just what is. They are products of their environment. The
So
reason
the
why
inner
I'm
city,
inner cities, even rural
so the inner
areas.
city that is perpetually ran by who?
It doesn't matter because
It
guess
does
what?
matter.
Let me tell you
Because
something.
if you keep
It does
on
not
voting
matter
for
who's
insanity,
running. Oh my God.
insanity is the definition
Hey,
of doing
Andrea.
the same thing
Yes,
over and
hi.
over again and
Hey, how are
expecting a
you?
different
Good,
outcome.
good. Okay, let's let our friend Becker
Okay.
have it covered. What's going on?
So Angie made a comment earlier about how we really need to pay attention to what history has taught us. And I'm a 40-something-year-old white woman, product of the public school system in the Philadelphia area. We relocated down to Virginia probably about 15 years ago. So that really struck me with that comment that she made, because if you sit and think about what exactly has been taught about history in the public school system, specifically Black history. Black history has been confined to, in my opinion, two things: Black History Month, and then the chunks that they want to give us throughout the rest of the year, the little pieces. If you ask any white person what they know about Black history, I would argue that they would be able to rattle off maybe 3 or 4 names: Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, George Washington Carver. That's the extent.
Even
And
black
we're
people.
also, right, where we're taught that the African community was brought over here because of slavery. Okay, that's terrible. Nobody gets that. Nobody understands truly the depth of evil that was involved in that act.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I was confronted with what that might have actually looked like. It was my mom. My parents made intentional effort to expose my brother and I to multiple cultures from day one.
That's wonderful.
So my mom sat me down and had me watch the movie Amistad when it came out. And to actually see, and granted, it's a cinematic reproduction of what might have been, but to see, in textbooks, you see those little diagrams where they've got like all the people kind of like fit in there like puzzle pieces. But to actually see an entire group of people that were shoved in this boat, living in filth, living in human waste, living in death, living in just horrible, raping on the boat, tossing dead bodies over the side like they had zero worth and zero regard for the actual value of a human life that was given by God. It is heartbreaking.
Why is this?
And I'm going to hold on a minute, Red. Like, I've been sitting here listening to you talk for a long time, and I respect your opinion. And I'm just going to say,
but can you please let her finish, because I'm feeling the Holy Spirit when she talks. It's wonderful.
For the record, I am a conservative. My husband has come on here before with you, Andrea. He's a gunsmith.
Wow.
Uncle Bob, that's my husband.
Okay. That's awesome.
We have a very interesting dynamic in our household, but here's what I'm going to say. The African American culture that is here today is the only, and I generally don't like to make generalization statements because you can always pick out, not the case, not the case. The African American culture in America today is the only culture that you can point to and say they didn't get a chance to come here because of hope. They came here because somebody else said, I can benefit off of your labor. I can benefit off of the hard work of your back. Every other culture that came here.
The passion that's she said she's a conservative and she has
it breaks my heart.
But it's why?
It breaks my heart.
this is what I
What's
don't
wrong?
understand with conservatism, which I've actually considered
But
about
she's a conservative,
re-registering as a
though.
conservative because I love God and I want God to be back in the schools. I like learning about the Pledge of Allegiance and things like that.
I love
Proud to
Texas
be
because we
American,
do the Pledge of
but this
Allegiance
is
and the Texas
it's
flag.
she's conservative, so her views might be her ideas might be more aligned with yours, but she just simply has compassion and empathy for what has happened, and
But
you
why
are
is it
getting roughed up about it. I don't
why
get
is it
it.
compassion for one race? Why isn't it compassion for
She never
every
said that
single
she didn't have
individual?
passion for
Every
other
other race
races.
that
No, she
came
said
to this
specifically
country
black people.
came here because
Specifically.
they wanted
Red.
something better.
For
The
hope.
African American
Black
culture
people
came
don't have
here
hope
because
they
somebody
came here on the
snatched them
Amistad.
up and threw them on a boat. That's why.
What
Every
she
other
They didn't
said.
do
country
that to
came
any
here for
other
something
people?
better.
Can I
They
just
didn't
say
do that
this?
to the
What
other
she
people?
said was so eloquently put, but when she was talking, I got like a visual, and it almost brought me to tears because just the idea of. Let me tell you something. It wasn't. There was children on those boats. They were throwing off to sea. There were so many dead bodies that they changed the direction of the sharks. They were eating the humans. Okay, and just so you know, I believe I did a study last year. There's so much studying when you get into politics. I believe that not even everyone came. I think it was like 10%. The first boat brought like 2,000 people out of hundreds and hundreds of people. Okay, not a lot of people came. They were killed. They were dropped off along the way.
Yep.
I mean, explain the Haitians.
And I'm going to say something else.
The Haitian
There's a lot
takeover.
of people that when they're confronted with just the horrific facts of the conditions that the
It was
African people
horrific.
faced, like they'll say, "Oh, well, it was your own people that sold you into slavery." They wouldn't have sold you into slavery if there was nobody on the other side to buy you.
Yeah.
So the issue still stems with the fact that you had a market for that.
That's right.
Whoever was responsible for that, that doesn't matter.
Can
So
I ask you a
capitalism
question?
didn't have
Let me
capitalism.
just say this. Why would so my kids are biracial. They're actually their father did a test. I always thought because his name sounded like Spanish that my kid's father had some Spaniard, so he did a test. He's 100% white. My kids are Slovakian, which I was like, where the hell is that? And so I wanted my kids to learn everything. But so I don't want my kids to feel bad either. My daughter is white passing. You won't be able to tell. She's got blue eyes, blonde hair. She looks completely white. Okay, besides the shape of her body, and she has my face, but she's definitely white passing. So what when we talk about these things together, I say, "Mommy," she's 14 now. I still call her mommy. This is not because of you. You didn't do this. Nothing about the history here in America has anything to do with you, right? So why would these kids or people in this country feel like they are the reason? Because I don't feel like I was ever a slave. When people talk about slavery, the slave era, I feel like lucky that I was in an era where we skipped all that. There is a sense of sadness for my ancestors, my great great grandmother and my grandmother even, but I don't feel like I was that. So why do people feel like CRT being taught is going to make their kids feel like they did it? That's kind of crazy to me.
I
Because
agree
there's
with
a lot
you.
of-
And
there's a
to
lot of
all
TikTokers on here where their children, their white children, come home and they say they can't go to a party because their friends tell them, "Oh, my mom doesn't want white people there." So I mean, whenever you have this indoctrination, whenever you have this ideal that is being taught in schools, especially being taught without permission of the parents.
No, I
Brett,
think
I
we
don't
would
think
get
that's
permission.
really a
But I'm
realistic
not done
example.
with
I don't
my
think that's a
point,
realistic
and
example that
I'm
Can you
you
give
cited
us a
there.
realistic example, please?
Or not? Okay, so
Can
whenever
you-
they come home and say, "I can't go to a birthday party. It's my best friend," but they don't allow white people there. What happens then? Like what does that
Well, that's
parent tell
racism. That's
their
not
children?
CRT. That's racism. That's
Well,
like a whole
CRT teaches that a specific race has power, so inherently they are racist
But
and
that's not.
prejudiced.
But listen, that's true.
That's CRT? That's the
No,
basis for
well,
it.
what I'm telling you is just like on an educated level, the white race is a dominant race by numbers here in this country. It's not really a lie. They really they're 72 plus percentage of this country. 90% of the institutions in this country is ran by the white race, and I'm not offended by that. I just want an opportunity if you want to sell your house. Okay,
You know
who
what?
cares?
I want white people to go to historically black colleges, but we can't do that
But they
because it's
can't.
black only.
Okay, do me a favor. Somebody show me where a white person can't go to a historically black college. Let me tell you something. The problem isn't white people going to a black college. The problem is black kids getting accepted in these elite colleges. One, they're very expensive. A lot of black people. I live in Connecticut. I live right next to Yale. Like Yale is right there. And yeah, there are some black people, but not every. That's a very expensive college. That's generational wealth type of college. Okay. So
but we also can agree that those that are people of color get a lot more grants and a lot more scholarships than people that are not.
I mean, we can do a tit for tat. We also run the NFL, but who's counting the brown people? I mean,
but then if you're Kaepernick, you're going to be treated like a slave and poked and prodded, but you're getting paid millions of dollars. But you're going to say that you're a slave.
Just
compare the NFL to slavery.
I mean, I want to know from Red, like, what's your intention here? Like, are you, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but do you just want to perpetuate arguments, or do you want to actually help fix a real problem? Everything I talked about Black history, let's talk about that for what it is. It is glossed over. It is made to be a couple of pages in a thick book where kids know that something happened, but they aren't taught what really happened. They aren't taught how horrible it was, and nobody has come back to address that. So what's now happened is you've got, 75% of the population in this country that's white that knows slavery happened, but nobody truly grasps how horrible it was. And nobody truly grasps that the very foundation of this country and all the wonderful things that we have been able to do over the last several hundred years was perpetuated by the fact that we had a free labor force that was brought here against their will. So I want to know from you, like, what is the point of all of this argument that you're making about, your kid can't go to a party because that mom doesn't want a white person there? So what? If that actually happened, that's horrible. I don't think in my knowledge, I've got 3 kids, never encountered that in my life, never ever encountered that. So like, I really truly want to know from you, what is the point of all of these arguments? Do you want to fix a problem, or do you just want to hear yourself talk?
I think I'm in love. Tell Bob to move out of the way. I'm gonna tell Jeff to move out of the way. I'm just kidding.
I really think, Andrea, I think you
I'm just going close. I just find myself going closer and closer to the thing. I'm like, wow. Just because I can tell you're a strong woman, and that's just wonderful to hear. I just like your empowerment, and you just make me want to walk different. I'm a woman. Red, what's going on, man?
So my whole goal here and my whole point of being here is to be opposite of Andrea. She has her ideas, I have my ideas, and then sometimes we meet in the middle and sometimes we don't. You're not going to have a successful debate if you have someone that agrees with you the whole freaking time. Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. Everything. I agree. You're not going to have a debate. You're not going to have people watching.
Yeah, and
you're
listen, at some point, I mean, I love that we don't agree. And I love it. I don't want you to agree with me. But what I do want you to be able to is accept the feedback and understand some of the things that you say are just really offensive. Most importantly.
The thing is that the thing about victimhood is that
you can have like a point of view, but some things that you're saying about my race and half of your race.
My race as well.
Okay, yeah. Some of the things that you've said, it's like Candace Owens. Like, I just saw a video. Listen, the more I educate myself on things, I understand Candace Owens' position because I believe we have a lot in common, and I can just see through her. You ever meet somebody you just figure them out because you're very much alike.
Because you called me the Candace Owens of your show.
You are. You with the beard and a side smile.
I love it. 100%.
I think she's frustrated. I think she used to be a Democrat. I think she got frustrated because I get it. I get frustrated sometimes too when I talk about Black proximity crime. But I can't say Black on Black. Like, I get it. But I get where she's frustrated. But at some point, you have to understand that just because I'm not living in underfunded communities and in disenfranchised situations, just because you're not and I'm not, doesn't mean that there are people aren't living through the Jim Crow that lived through the Jim Crow law that are still living today, that are still being affected by poor health care. by poor rent slumlords that just want your check. There are people still in communities that are hurting, including white people. Classism is a problem. So we got to understand CRT is a breakdown of why there is an advantage and a disadvantage and things of that nature.
But also, I want to make a point that, again, the victimhood, that it's just this one race that
why
was.
do you say victimhood?
Well,
when you guys say,
because
if you want to trigger me, say victimhood.
Well, whenever a race, BLM, everybody else says, oh, we want reparations, then that becomes an inherent victimhood. It's like, oh, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me.
Woe is me. My great grandmother worked her whole life for white people in Texas.
And so did mine.
And told me about it. She would cook for them. And she even
mine.
had her own restaurant. At some point, she did save all her money up. But I mean, she had arthritis. She had freaking health issues.
Yes.
Because
of
the time working
Especially
for nothing.
Especially a Southern black woman in Texas, and that was the family that I was raised by. I was raised by my great-great-grandmother, my great-grandmother, my grandmother. There was like 3 generations of women that took care of me as a child. And so I understand that whole concept. I understand it. But the thing is that I have a bigger, wider picture. I look outside of the box. It's not only one race that was taken advantage of. There were millions across the world.
Just because black people are saying, just because black people are saying, this is what's happened to us, this is what's going on, and this is what
there's nothing going on now. There's nothing going on now.
Are you kidding me?
There are no people here that are slaves that are in China. There are more slaves in China than there are in the United States. That is 100% fact.
Okay, yes, we've been citizens since 1877. But what happened along the way? Redlining, which is not in existence still today, thank to God, for 1968. There have been cases that have come to play, like, and this is why I love law so much. What is it called? That's why I like law, because that's where these things happen.
I bring up China one time, and all of a sudden China's my thing. Jesus Christ.
Listen, Shelley versus Kramer. This case was decided with the Supreme Court determining that the courts could not enforce whites-only real estate contracts in northern cities. I'm in real estate. I cannot believe that somebody had to go to court for that. So black people have been fighting in court for basic human rights, bro.
We're doing that now.
Something that should have been done from the gate, just as a human. So listen, in real estate, whites only real estate contracts, I really want to see what that looked like. To keep out migrants and stop housing desegregation. Okay, so CRT would bring this up and say, well, why? Listen, I live in Connecticut. You can literally see the red lines. You can see where white people live. You can see where black people live. And I live in a mixed town right now, but we're about to move to a predominant white neighborhood, which isn't far from a black neighborhood, because me and my fiance have made some money and we're about to sell our house. So we want a nicer house. So that's where we're going. But you could literally just go a town over and you'll see where predominant black people live. And I showed you guys actually one morning what town I was talking about. And it was just, there were certain parts that I just can't believe people are living in there. And it's not because of anything. It's not because they are forced to be in there. It's because they can't afford to live anywhere else. But you have to understand that white people had an advantage in real estate, education. At one point, black people couldn't even read. So, I mean, like my mom, she has like she was in special ed. And I don't really think she needed it. She was born in the 1960s. I mean, there are people that are affected from education. How are they supposed to raise their kids and do things properly when they probably didn't even know how to fill out a proper application? My mom couldn't get a job. She doesn't know how to go call someone and go here and there. And now with technology in play, if you're in your 60s today, you probably don't know how to do half the things that we have created in a technology standpoint. So do you understand that people today in CRT can understand how they can maybe help their grandparents? How they can understand. I mean, I'm freaking 36. I don't even understand fully why this has happened and why things are continuing to happen in certain places.
I'll tell you
it's
why.
yeah, go
It
ahead.
all stems back. It all stems back to what are you taught as a child? What are you exposed to as a child? The first time in my life that I was ever exposed to a blatantly racist individual was 6 years ago. My husband and I were building our house. We live out in the country, quiet area.
That's why you got them
We
guns.
Yeah, that's exactly why. That's
Save
exactly
that for
why.
another one.
So,
Okay, go ahead.
definitely, I'll take you up on that. So the foundation for the house had just been put up. We're outside taking care of some things, doing some things. Neighbor who lives, a mile or so down the road pulls into the driveway. He gets out, he walks up. He says, "Hey, I'm Gary so-and-so. I live a couple houses down." And I said, "Oh, hey, I'm Becky. This is my husband, Brian." Actually, I don't think Brian was even with me that night. But I said, "Hey, I'm Becky. We're getting settled in here." And he said, "Well, nice to see some white people moving into the neighborhood." I looked at this man and I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Nice to see some white people moving in." Turned around and left. Like, I'm just sitting there, jaw hanging open. So, for anybody that wants to try to gloss over the fact that, racism was, and that it's, there's race baiting and, all these things go, I'm telling y'all, there are still deeply entrenched, active racist attitudes that are in this country alive and well. And until everybody gets on the same page and says, we don't tolerate this,
Yeah.
How was that racist?
How is that not
Let me
racist?
say this. Let me say
How
this.
is that not
How's
racist?
that racist?
How is
Let me
that
say
not
this, Red.
racist?
I grew up around white people majority of my life. I was the only black girl, like I keep telling you guys, in my whole school. I would have loved to learn about CRT because being the only black, I think I was 12 years old. I got hit in the face on the first day. I
Hello?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
My little sister keeps calling. I had to deal with things that just were things that I didn't understand. I just don't understand why people got to get in the way with people getting an understanding of what how our system started, and how we could fix things today. So what I want to say is, growing up around white people predominantly, I don't think white people want anything to do with anything pertaining to racism. Am I wrong? I really don't think white people, if you call somebody a racist that's white, they are horrified that you would even have the audacity to insinuate such malarkey.
See, I would have probably agreed with you, but for the fact that it walked into my front yard and like stared me in the face and literally made one of the most racist comments I've ever heard. Who cares if my skin is white or black? Why did that even need to be, like, why did you go a mile out of your way to pull into my driveway and welcome me in that way? That's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And I'm telling y'all,
if you would have came into your yard and said, "I'm glad there's no N-words here," then I think that would be racist. But to say, "I'm glad there's white people," I don't think that was meant to be the way that it came across.
Okay, I'm going to tell you exactly how it was meant. It was meant exactly the way that he said it.
So you knew what he was thinking. You knew his intent whenever he said it.
Absolutely. It was obvious.
So he told you that?
So,
he said, my intent was to be racist?
Red, my neighbor, who I love to death, short little, she's a white lady, but she's like this little lady. I love her. She's the best neighbor. We're about to move. I'm freaking sad. Her dad comes and lives with her. Okay, he's an alcoholic or whatnot, but she's like 60, so he's real old. He came in there and she goes, "Can you believe, Andrea, that my father said that, wow, there's a lot of black people moving in the neighborhood." Now, my fiance's white. Okay, so are you talking about me? And I thought that was rude to even tell me that. Sorry, Jeff is home now. He just got back from the jail. But what I want to say, I lost my train of thought. Oh, go ahead. My son's crying. I forgot what I was going to say.
I mean, it's just for me, because I am a very black and white person. Every day what I do is apply law to crimes that I investigate, and I have to see what the law is, what the elements of the crime is, and then what that person did, and if it meets the elements. Okay. And so there are usually 3 elements, and it's or, and, or, and. So it depends on that person's intent. What was that person's intent? Did they intend to do this?
Okay, I
what
got
did
it.
They do? There you
There
go.
are a million other adjectives that man could have chosen to apply in that situation.
Yes,
he
White
could have
people.
said, he could have said,
White
nice to
people,
see
really?
some new people
That's
moving in.
racist.
Nice
That's
to
not
see some
racist.
young people moving in.
Yeah,
nice
it was
to see
offensive.
some.
I mean,
It was.
So
the
Red, this
question
is
would
what I
be,
want
do
you to
you look
understand.
young?
Red, this is what I want you to understand, okay? Because this is something I'm passionate about. It's really not the intent of what somebody says. It's the
all about intent.
repercussions. It's the repercussions of what they're saying. And that could create a stigma. Let me finish. That could create a stigmatic effect that can affect everybody. Blockbusting is illegal. It's not acceptable. So what is blockbusting? There was a time where white people would leave areas called white flight because they thought that, not because they were racist, because they thought that their property value, let's not forget, we live in a capitalistic society here. They thought that their property value was going to go down if too many Black people lived in a neighborhood. So somebody would mention, hey, there's other people moving in here. You better move fast because your property value is going to go down. So by pointing out that there are white people in the neighborhood or Black people in the neighborhood, that could create a stigma, either positive or negative. You know what I'm saying? So what benefit would somebody say, wow, there's a white person in the neighborhood? They might think that their property value is going to go up or something of that nature. And it's very dangerous.
So the thing is that if you continue to use race in the connotation that America is using it now, it is always going to be it's always going to be a factor, and it's always going to be a crutch. Oh, it's because I'm Black. Oh, it's because I'm Hispanic. Oh, it's because I'm white. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be a crutch to somebody because there is going to be some kind of reward. There's not going to be any repercussions.
When did this happen? When did this happen?
Is that Ruby?
Yes.
I don't know exactly when it happened. I'm not a history buff.
That's what CRT's for.
No, CRT is to say that white people, those white men around her, are oppressing her. That's what CRT's for.
Her name is Ruby Bridge. And I want you to know when this happened, because what you want people to do is just move forward, move on.
Yes. That's how you create
and that's
a
a
country
beautiful,
and become
hey,
better.
listen,
is you move forward.
We are, though. We've been moving forward thanks to America.
Not if we continue to say that Black people are being oppressed.
But they are.
No, they're not.
What
is it? So I'm going to ask the question again. What is it that a white person can do that a Black person can't in the United States?
Acknowledge the truth.
That's not a factor.
Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, I am a African American woman, and I have my own LLC right now because I got tired of looking for jobs.
So you have a business and you're a capitalist.
Hold on.
That's the same thing white people can do, okay?
Yeah, but ask me why I have my own business. When I was in the Marriotts, I was working at hotels. I love to work checking people in, checking
because
people
you pulled
out.
yourself up by your bootstraps.
I actually was a leasing consultant, okay, and had aspirations to be a community manager. I started off at the Marriotts and worked my way to get into leasing. But guess what? I dealt with racism at a high level at those companies. Okay, I'm talking this chick yelling in my freaking ear. Okay, getting mad at me for things that I had no part of, like making me pick up scabs in toilets. Okay, so there was this big unit. There were scabs in the toilets because these are units that were sitting too long. All the other agents were making a lot of money. She made me go to every floor and check for a week where the scabs were. I was cleaning scabs off toilets.
And you were new?
I was new there, yes.
Okay.
And this lady just did not want me to succeed there. Okay, this was a white lady. A Black lady didn't do that to me. And this happened, and I am telling you right now, in every position I've ever had, I've dealt with racism with a manager who was from another race, because guess what? 90% of this institutional power is with white people. And guess what? I'm a minority. I'm in Connecticut. There's not a lot of black people in the area that I'm in. So, you know, to sit there and say that I had the same opportunities as some, there was one girl that wouldn't even shake my hand. Why would they like me? I'm
some
very
people are weird like that.
I'm a love bug.
I didn't shake people's hands for the longest just because I
At
was
the end of the
germaphobe.
day, it became prevalent that there was a reason why I was being treated this way, because nobody else was being treated that way. Racism is something that you can feel. It's something that you know. How about this? Me as a leasing consultant, and a girl puts her hand in my face. She goes, Andrea, just don't interject. But do you smell that? Yeah, don't be offended, because she automatically knew I would be offended because I'm a brown person. But she said something about Indian people, which I love. I love Indian food. I love butter chicken. I love pan bread. I love it all. She's gonna put her hand in my face, and Indian people are the nicest people, mind you, and say it insinuate that it smells in the hallways and talk crap about them. I dealt with them talking about racism with me because I'm at work and I'm not going to come out the pocket. I started working for myself because I knew what type of system that I'm dealing with. And I've been successful working for myself ever since. Let me tell you.
So can I tell you that I was an auditor. Okay. So I was a compliance auditor for low-income housing.
Becky, love you, by the way. Come circle back if you want to. I am George is here. George, just give me a moment to get somebody else new because it's 10 o'clock.
Ooh,
so.
Georgie.
Georgie, Georgie is a great person. Georgie, just let me talk to someone new real quick and I'll bring you on. Hello, Paper James.
Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing this evening?
Good. What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm just sitting here enjoying the conversation. You know, so
you're enjoying it?
Yeah, I do. I like dialogue.
That's what we're about, right?
You know, you can't move forward if you can't sit down and actually have a civilized discussion.
No, you ain't never lied.
You know.
Wow, there's a picture of Ruby Bridge today. I hope you guys can see this. I have not looked at her most recent picture. Oh shoot. Oh, can you guys see? Wait, hold on. Wow, that's her right there. Let's see if I can point it on her picture. Sorry. Anyways, there is a picture of her today. She don't even look that old. Like,
black don't crack. That's what my
there you go.
Wow, I don't even know how old she is. Look at that.
Well, if that was in the 60s, she gotta be up there.
Miss Ruby?
Yeah, she gotta be at least like 80 something. At least 80 something. So you.
Let me see here.
All right.
Yeah,
Red, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
So if it wasn't called CRT and if it was called like the truth, would you be opposed to it if they were just telling the events how they happen and when they happen, just speaking the truth? That's all. It doesn't have to be CRT, but I think it is relevant for people in school, for kids in school, to learn what happened in history, just like we did, but certain places in the country explain it differently. So I think it needs to be more uniformed and across the board so everybody is learning the exact same thing and just tell the truth. It's not that hard.
I completely agree with you, and it has nothing to do with the name, and it has everything to do with the principles that are under the name CRT. That's what I have the problem with. I don't have the problem with the name. I have the problem with the principles that fall under that name itself. I am all for Black history. I'm all for history, period, because we need to know history because it's going to repeat itself, and it's currently heading in that direction with what's going on currently in the United States and abroad. So we need to know history. That's 100%. I agree. We need to know everything that everyone in this country had to go through and everyone in the world. We can't just say we're only going to worry about the people in the United States only, and we're not going to take in consideration that other Black people had the same oppression in South America. Same Black people had oppression in the Middle East or in Europe. Okay, so what I'm saying is a broader picture. Yes, I'm not saying that there wasn't oppression. Yes, 100% there were, because I was raised in Southern Texas. If anybody knows the story about the guy that was lynched in Texas, it's not recent, but it was whenever I was in high school. Kuntz, Texas, actually is the name of it, and he was dragged by the back of the truck. Okay, so I'm all for it. And whenever I was in elementary school, I had a knife up to my throat 2 times by two white students. Okay, so I understand racism, I understand oppression, but what I'm trying to convey is that we need to see the broader picture, that it's not just the United States, and we can't put everything in a box. And we can't say that white people are bad and only white people are bad.
But that's not what they're saying, though, Red. That's not CRT. That is, see, this is my problem with the strawman arguments, is that you've built a narrative that you've bought from rhetoric and propaganda on the right, that you don't even understand the definition. Critical race theory is not saying that white people are bad. See, that's a binary that's very detrimental. It's by trying to make white people feel bad. Why would they feel bad today if they're not perpetuating the same racism systemically or socially?
Because it's being brought up over and over and over again.
If the shoe fits and you wear it well, then yeah, you would feel some type of way. But we're not talking about you perpetuating racism systemically. We're talking about you not doing anything about it today. It's a system that was built that has oppressed a lot of other races, and they're not doing anything about it, really. There are some laws that have to come into play, like the laws I've been telling you about, that people have to go to court to get basic human rights, right?
Which the Supreme Court just judged on one recently, basic rights.
Do you know what that case is called, by chance?
The recent one?
What do you mean recent one? Ahmaud Arbery?
No. The Supreme Court case about our American rights and our freedoms, which was the mandates. Those are inherent rights that we have.
That was amazing. That's how powerful our Constitution is. But the mere fact is they can go strong on those things if it affects the majority. But there are things that have been affecting the Black community or BIPOC community for centuries, and there's still basic human rights that we're not getting as far as equality goes. I tell people this with Martin Luther King celebration just happened. I said, yeah, we've come a long way, but things aren't fixed. Martin Luther King said it himself with his own voice, that they don't want to do things that cost money. Okay, segregating blacks with whites didn't cost anything. Ending redlining didn't cost anything. These are constructs that don't cost anything. Something that we should have got from the gate. But there are consequences. There's an aftermath for centuries of bombing us in Oklahoma, keeping us from ownership, keeping us out of society's basic rights. Okay, 50 years ago, this little girl, she's still alive, couldn't even go to a school. I mean, just being surrounded by men, the psychology that this little girl probably had, that was probably very scary.
But they were there to protect her, though.
But she shouldn't need protection, is the point.
Well, I mean, that's how it was then. That's how it was. That is where we moved from.
So
you don't have little black girls in that situation having rocks thrown at them.
Right. So,
yeah, and there were some black girls that got bombed. Angela Davis said those were her friends. Angela Davis says, "How dare you talk to me about violence?" These are from her own words.
But I'm talking about
her house would shake because they were being bombed.
Right, but now that's not happening.
But
how do you figure? There was a black boy that just got all of his organs taken out. They still don't know what freaking happened to him. I can't think of his name right now.
We can't label that if we can't label it if we don't know what happened, because that's just conjecture. We can't label it. That is just
another black.
There's a word that I can't
America.
say.
Nobody knows what happened.
Damn it. There's a word I can't say. I'll get there in a minute.
My God. Paper Chase, I'm gonna let somebody else on there. You can circle back if you want to say something. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, not in particular. No.
You're so chill.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that. Thanks. All right.
No problem.
So chill. I love it. All right. Thanks, Paper
Damn it.
Chase.
No, I can't say it. No.
I'm trying to equal it out because I want a white perspective and a black perspective because this is critical race theory.
Hello,
So
can you
we should
hear
hear
me?
everybody's perspectives. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was coming on to talk to Red because I like your points a lot. I don't know how to say your name. I don't know. But anyways, I like yours. I am married to a chocolate man. My kids are biracial. My youngest daughter looks Mexican and my oldest looks black.
My God.
I see it every day in the difference with my children, with my Mexican looking daughter and my black looking daughter.
Anomaly. There we go.
That's just within my kids. That's not even with me coming around. Once I come around, I'm even treated different for having them.
So reverse racism.
Second, another my ex-husband get hired on to a job at lower pay than the white man who didn't even go to college, just graduated high school. He graduated college and all that and got hired on lower than the man that just graduated high school. And he's black also. My ex-husband's black as well. So how can you not say that is not separating things?
Laura,
I have taken my pain meds. I'm sorry. I'm white. Yes, I am white.
Do you understand the percentage of white people in this country?
No, I understand that. I do understand.
I really want you to just like ascertain that.
I understand that, but
what's the percentage of white people in this country?
How am I lying about my ex being hired on at a lesser pay than
what I'm trying to get you to understand is you're part of a dominant race here in America.
No, on at a lesser pay than
what I'm trying to get you to understand is you're part of a dominant race here in America.
No, I get that, but I'm saying based on what Red was saying. I'm going off of what some of Red was saying.
What was I saying?
When I first came in, you were saying about the racism in jobs and stuff, and how is it because you were asking her if it was off of the color of her skin or if it was because they just didn't like her. That's where I was going with that.
My question was, what is it that a black person can't do in America that a white person can? That was my question.
But then you said, was it because they didn't like you, or was it because of the color of her skin? You did ask me that.
I never used that terminology, color of skin. I never used that. Never.
Okay, of her race. Okay, the race. You said, or her race. That's what you asked. You asked when she was talking about reaching the hand out, when she was saying about that lady shaking her hand.
No, because I said that I didn't even shake people's hands because I was a germaphobe. I commented on it.
No, you did say, was it because she didn't like her, or was it because of the color of her skin? You did say that. I was in here, and I was
that because I made a comment about German being a germaphobe.
That's the part where I was going with the job part.
But either way, even because that goes into the gender gap, pay gap theory that is perpetuated throughout the United States. You get paid more if you're a man than you do if you're a woman. So now we're going into the race, apparently the race pay gap, where you get paid more if you're white versus if you're black.
A lot of jobs do. A lot of jobs
is that to say that the jobs that I've been in, I've been paid more, that I'm an anomaly because I get paid more than the white man?
It's not every job, but it's most. Most jobs are hired paying African Americans less than blacks.
I think it's less than 1%. I think it's less than 1% where that would be a issue.
No, the only reason on statistics why it would be more is because a lot of people are afraid to speak up on it.
Why would they be afraid of it whenever the federal law says that a job will not discriminate against race, religion,
Just because a
disability?
job verbally says it does not mean that they're gonna go with it.
So
It
they
does
don't have
not.
to comply whatsoever. They can just do whatever they want.
They'll come up with another excuse why they let you go.
So just I'm going to transition
And actually, in some states now, they just passed it where they don't even have to give you a full reason why they let you go.
And that's at will. That's at will work. At will positions in those states, and they have that authority to do that. You're an at will employee.
Okay, all right.
But
I did you get your point across, Laura? I just want to make sure you're heard. Okay, she's got. Okay, so somebody asked me about the person. Listen, if you're disrespectful and I have a moment, you're blocked. You're out of here. I don't deal with disrespect. Don't be rude. What I want to say right now is to answer somebody's question. They want to know if there was some black boy that was recently found without his organs. Absolutely. I did a whole post about it on TikTok. Let me get his name real quick. Look, I don't like how they call him like a black boy found missing organs, but let me just his name is Jelani Day. Jelani Day, who's 25 years old, black graduate student who went missing in August before washing up on the river a week later. The case took a twisted turn last week when the Chicago Sun-Times reported that an independent pathology report commissioned by the family found that some of Day's organs and body parts were missing. Okay, and it gets very descriptive. So if you want to get back more into that case, look up Jelani Day, 25. I don't even think they even come up with a resolution for that. And to say that wasn't racially driven, it's maybe it's money driven. The black market. Yeah. I mean, go look and see how much a freaking lung costs, or maybe a rib or something.
You know what? There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that got fired because of COVID. They're probably looking to see how much an egg costs.
God, you guys better hold your thing. I actually after hearing this story, on my ID, I saw that I had put that I'm an organ donor. I told them when I renewed my license to take that off, because that could be how they're targeting people. Why put on your license if you're an organ donor? Why wouldn't your family be able to tell you that or something like that? Like, why would you have to have that on your license? Is what I'm saying. It's a little sketchy to me. But let's bring somebody on. Before I bring somebody on, and look at you, Red. You're doing a good job, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't get you didn't kick me off this time.
No, I only kicked you off because I wanted you to understand that saying that black people are the reason for slavery was unacceptable. That's all.
Okay.
At the tender age of 6, it's just not okay. Like
I'm saying okay to you. Like, yes, I agree.
Listen, if we were doing a podcast, Red, if we were doing a podcast, it was just me and you. Like, you can say whatever you want. But because there's so many people that come here and like our dynamic, let's not do that. You know what I'm saying? Let's not blame black people for slavery. That's curb. That's like blaming Jewish people for the Holocaust. Like, come on, man. That's like blaming Native Americans for freaking what is it called? A genocide? I don't know. At the tender age of 6, Ruby Bridges, which is the little girl above me, who's now 67. Just so you guys know, this is what CRT is about. They would probably teach you about Ruby Bridges and why it's important today. Advance the cause of civil rights in November 1960s. George Floyd did that last year. So I like how they put that, advance the cause of civil rights, because, you know, black people who are minorities in this country have to fight for basic human rights still to this day. It's kind of ridiculous, right? When she became the first African American student to integrate in an elementary school in the South. Born on September 8th, 1954, Bridges was the oldest of 5 children for blah, 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 again to the family. Nonetheless, Southern states continued to resist integration, and in 1959, Ruby attended a segregated New Orleans kindergarten. A year later, however, a federal court ordered Louisiana to desegregate. Wow. The school, just a year later, so it was very effective, just so you know. The school district created entrance exams for African American students to see whether they could compare academically at the all-white schools. Ruby and 5 other students passed that exam. How many other little Black kids did not pass that exam? That is the disadvantage, and I believe that that disadvantage is alive very well still to this day. There are some Black kids, and even Candace Owens said this, they can't pass a certain exam because there's been a gap in between them being able to be educated.
Because of the funding in their schools and disproportionate. Yes.
Probably because they're doubling up on policing.
Well, I mean,
who's paying for that?
That's where the crime is. I mean, you have to put your resources where the crime is.
Okay.
Oh, hey, I got to come in.
Yeah. I try to get some new people before I get some older people because, you know, the point of meeting new people. What's up? How you doing?
I'm good. You know, I think earlier he was trying to say slavery doesn't exist anymore. Explain the 13th Amendment. Explain the people that were just rescued from Georgia who were enslaved.
Did I say that there wasn't slavery? I said there wasn't slavery in America, that there was slavery abroad, yes.
No, that was Georgia's America.
No, you referred to my comment, so I'm
Yeah, and you said not in America. Georgia is in America.
Right, but you are talking about sex trafficking, correct?
No, they were not.
What's the difference?
What's that?
Thank you. Thank you, because were they not doing that to Black women in slavery? Come on now.
Well, weren't they doing it to everyone that was enslaved?
Give me a second. Whew. Here's the thing. When you, because this is the first time I've ever seen you in here. When you said that you were, well, I'm new to her life. Like, her life just popped up on my feed. When you said that you were mixed and the way you were talking, that really surprised me. It really did. Because I've listened. Oh my God, I don't want to cry. So I don't think people realize slavery was only 157 years ago. It was not that long ago. I'm sorry. I listened to it live last night and I want to talk about it.
Are you crying?
Yeah, she is. She made me cry. Oh my God.
Listen, things I heard last night that were passed down by a woman who was enslaved from I know that she said their family moved to Texas. I might be wrong if she's said her grandma was in Texas, or great grandma. But the things that I heard was horrific, and the fact that you're like trying to sugarcoat it. Oh my God. Sorry.
Oh my God. I want to give you a hug. I love your passion. That's beautiful.
What you're trying to sugarcoat is disgusting. It is horrific.
So you're saying that I'm sugarcoating it, even though I'm recognizing that these things did happen across the world. I'm not specifically.
Yeah, but it minimalizes things that are happened here in this country. To keep using whataboutism. I can't imagine somebody punched me in the freaking face. Okay, Red, imagine if somebody punched you in the face, and then as soon as you said, ow, that freaking hurt, and said, so what? I got punched in the face yesterday.
I heard about a great grandma to this woman who, I don't remember exactly how many babies that she said she had. All her sons got sold off for breeding because they could not traffic Black people, Africans, over here anymore. If you hear anybody with the last name Husband, it's because he was the first Black man to be used for breeding. His last name was Husband because he was the husband to many slave women.
Wow, I never knew that. No, please let her keep talking. Please tell us more.
Her great grandma had some daughters that were literally in front of her fed to alligators because she did something wrong, and it was barely. So the fact that anybody tries to act like it didn't happen, and then the people in the comments talking about Jews, I'm part Jewish, and there's people to this day who believe the Holocaust was fake.
Wow.
I literally screen record all these video of people speaking about their great grandparents talking about slavery because I have 4 children that are mixed and their dad's family's not around, and I want them to learn about what happened, the truth, the not sugarcoated versions.
Well, I just think you're a good person just for having empathy for another race. I mean, you don't have to do that. Just because you have mixed kids, you don't have to be this person that has this fullness of empathy. And I just feel like it's amazing to hear. Huh?
I had a teacher that marched in the Selma March and the DC March with Martin Luther King. And to hear her story about what she went through, I was a kid, and you know, when you're in class, you barely pay attention to anything anyways. But to watch that and know that she went through that just to fight for rights is horrendous.
Yeah, the stories are amazing.
My friend's grandma, rest in peace, because she was like my other grandma. She was a white woman who was married to a black man and had black babies. She told me she was a felon. We were just talking. She told me she used to be a felon, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it was
all
illegal.
because she lived in black housing. She had mixed children and was married to a black man. She was a 3-time. Well, I'm sorry. 1 felony for being married, 1 felony for where she lived, and I think she had 3 or 4 kids. So a felony per kid.
That's amazing. Your story is really amazing.
And everything else, y'all are disgusting. Y'all are really what's wrong with America.
Yeah. So you are Jewish?
I'm part. My grandpa was adopted. It's on his biological side.
Like, I don't understand why people feel the need that they can interject in historical, horrific events that have happened to African American people now and even historically. I as an African American, I am not a Jew, but I know the history of Jewish people, and I don't even touch it. Like, it's just something you just don't even confront. I mean, I read a book called The Night, and these children and people were thrown in fires and in gas. The horrific, inhumane practices that were done by Hitler and his regime is just disgusting. I can't even. And you know, when you think about racism, they were white.
Yeah.
So Judaism is a religion. So can you believe that hate for them? They did that to white people. 6 million Jews. Could you imagine people going in there?
We need to target down the fact that it's crazy how we basically hate people for their skin tone, their hair color, their eye color.
By the way, everybody has melanin. Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the joke in my family is because my grandpa, he's from Jersey. So he's like the fullest white grandparent any of us have. Because of that, I'm pasty. I'm like super pasty.
Oh no.
And so the joke is because we're Native American.
Pasty. Don't do that. Do you know in the olden days, if you had the lighter skin, even if you were white, the lighter skin that you were meant you were of stature, high stature, because it meant that you didn't work. Like, colorism is real in America. Well, listen, Miss Quinn, I love you so much, and I hope you know.
It reminded me how my family jokes, because my dad's family is half Native American on his side.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of them joking that, you're like, you have to be adopted because you're this one.
Right. Oh goodness. Well, I love your story. I thank you for telling us your stories. I learned something new. I'm gonna read. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna not go to sleep tonight because I'm gonna read all about this guy named Husband. Because just think about it. Why we calling him Husband then? Why we calling him Husband?
She was saying that if you meet anybody with the last name Husband, they are a direct descendant that just happens to have the last name from the first man that was used for breeding. First slave man that was used.
And now that's the name that we give men that marry us here in America. That's freaking sick. Yeah. All right, love. Well, let me try to bring someone else on. Thank you so much for your testimony. Oh my God. Wow. Thank you. I'm going to bring on our friend. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this TikTok creator who is also a conservative and does align with, come back. It kicked him off. I don't know why it does it. Come back, Georgie. Georgie is a conservative. So for those of you on the right, you'll probably hear some things you like. Let me see. Where did Georgie go? There he is. I don't know why it does that. And for those of you asking if I got the 3 feature yet, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. If you could tell me how to do it, it's done. What's up, Georgie? Look at you looking all nice, like
How are
always.
you guys? What?
Hold on,
Look
time
at
out.
You
You
guys,
never
I
say
haven't
I'll look
seen you
nice.
for a couple of days.
you. So what's
You
up today? Let's just jump right into it. It's all about CRT and if you're for it or against it, and what's the problem, America? Why can't we just have something that critically allows us to use our cognitive thinking and analyze historical events as well as current events that create this division here in our country?
I think we have to take two things into consideration. The first thing we have to consider is we can't perpetuate that we can't get ahead because we are people of color, right? We have got to change that narrative and
Yes.
start doing things because we are people of color, right? So I had to make a conscious decision that I don't walk into a room and go, everybody looked at me funny because I'm black, right?
But
I
maybe they
walk into
did though.
and there very well may be true, but I had to start making a decision to not let that be the narrative that runs in my head when I walk into a room, right? And I had to walk into a room and go, I belong here, you know? And so whatever's going on here, my place is at this table, and I'm going to make the best of it because I am a person of color. So I'm going to do great because I am a person of color. So we have got to change the narrative that the whole world is against us. We can't get ahead because we are black. Yes,
I
it
agree.
exists.
Yeah.
There are things that exist that get in our way, but we have got to find workarounds.
Right.
You
But
know,
Georgie, can
and
you understand that there are people that might not be on the educational level as you or others, that might have been victims, literally, of their environment. Some of these places like Chicago, that's all they know. They've been there. Their families have been there for generations and generations. And moving from what they only know, it's not something that they should have to do. Um, so my whole point is, not everybody has the ability to say, well, I'm not going to be a victim, and therefore I'm going to move myself out of this. Listen, we're in the business of moving. If you want something better, if you're not happy where you are, you got to move, and we're going to help you do it. But the mere fact is, some people don't want to move. They feel like they don't need to move, and how do you deal with that? When they're not making excuses, but they're not able to ascertain where they're living is not conducive. For instance, you guys know how I feel about gun control. There are, like, Louisiana is being plagued with gun violence. I think that they need to do everything possible to get out of this situation so that the police aren't overwhelmed, and then therefore it could be regulated and fixed. But they don't want to move. They don't want to change. So they are still victims because they don't change anything. They don't move.
So the thing is like the majority of the people that are in the inner cities that are being perpetuated by their environment. That's what
Okay.
they are raised to know. That is what they are raised to do because that's what their family has always done. So, for instance, I told you I was a low-income housing auditor. There were
Oh.
four families with the same last name, and I was like, let me do some research. So I went back to the move-in date. Those that are now on separate leases were on the original lease of one apartment as children. And then they slowly moved one apartment to the other as the children became of age. So whenever you are in a society where they are going to give you free stuff, why not?
And I don't think it's that they don't know. I mean, I think people think that people who've achieved some level of success have always been there. And I don't think people understand. If I went down a laundry list of people I've been around that are in my family and things that I've been through, you would probably go, how in the hell? But it was a conscious decision. The people that want to stay there, there's really not much you can do for them. I don't care many cartwheels you turn. I don't care if you scream from the rooftop. I don't care if you're screaming at the White House front door. If they don't want to change, there is nothing you can do. It is a personal effort. And so when we say CRT, from my understanding of it, was the construction of laws that prevented people of color from advancing, right?
Right.
So we have laws in place now that allow you to advance. Why are we not using those to our advantage?
Yeah.
Now,
See, I hate talking to Georgie because he makes me want to be a conservative because I'm like, yeah, he's so right.
But
I
not
have,
me.
like,
I just
the
want you
ability
just want to argue
to
with
look
me,
to
but
the,
you like
you know,
Georgie, and he's gonna change you over.
I mean, no, I'm not switching. But what I'm saying is, no matter how much I believe in that, I don't make excuses for myself. I definitely believe in upward mobility, but not a lot of people have access, and it's concerning. I care about my people that can't make it. I don't care about people that are doing well. And don't need me. They don't need me. They don't need Andrea. They don't need Red. They don't need Georgie. I'm talking about the people that freaking just don't know how to get there and need a helping hand. But while they get there, CRT can make them understand, especially at younger age. There's some little young black boy right now in Chicago, and he's just born into that crap. I mean, Chicago and Louisiana and even Alaska has
a
high
lot
gun
of successful
violence.
people were born into poverty, you know. And so to say that you were born into poverty is not an excuse to stay poor.
Judge Mathis.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
You
CRT
know.
can help. CRT, critical race theory, can give people that are younger the ability to understand how it got to this point. There might be a lot of black boys out there that just feel like, since they were taught in school, that they are not going to have a chance out there. They don't have no chance against going to get an application. There's some black boys out there. They like the rap music. They like to have their pants sagged down. It's part of their culture. They like being not stimulating. They like doing things out of the norm, and being off the radar. They like that. So CRT can make them understand that, listen, you should take advantage of the laws that have been put in place. You should take advantage of the abilities that you have still to this day. This is why you probably shouldn't have a gun, and because you're going to use it against your own people due to proximity. This is what you can do today, but it's not your fault. White people, it's not anybody's fault today, but this is what happened and led up to it, and this is what you need to do moving forward. It could be a nice intervention, if you will, for kids that feel like they're hopeless.
I would agree. Okay, if we're going to teach critical race theory, right? Which my understanding of critical race theory was that it's the way that the laws were written to construct to keep a group of people of color from advancing.
Red,
right?
Circle back. Because you guys are both conservative, I just want Georgie to be the next person.
The next
and then we'll let some other people on. So yeah, you're in the hot seat. Red, if you're still here, you could circle back. But there are quite a few people here that probably Universe was already here. I'm just trying to give Blackbird. Okay, go ahead. There's like 5 people waiting, so.
My understanding of critical race theory was that it's teaching how laws were constructed to be written to a disadvantage for people of color, right? So my question here is, why are we teaching victimization, right? Let's stick to the fact that these laws were written, that they were written in a way that prevented people of color from advancing. So now what we're telling people is that everything, I'll back up. Let me say this. I believe that we all are under the same law. I don't believe that they're distributed evenly when it comes to punishment. I believe there's laws for the rich, laws for the poor, laws for the have, the laws for the have not. I believe when you go to court, the judge convicts a white person totally different than he does a black person. So I believe those things do happen. Right. But I don't think we're in a place now where, I think somebody on your live the other day was still talking about redlining. Redlining does not exist anymore. So we have got to.
That's very true, guys. It's very true.
Yeah.
But at some point, we got to understand that the fact that people still believe that, there needs to be some type of education. And
I think
CRT
we
could
talked
be
about it
where
before.
that education is put.
Can we add
And
exposure to, and I think we talked about that before, can we add exposure to this critical race theory, right? These things that existed in the past, but let's expose you to something new. Let's expose you to ways
yeah.
to get out of poverty.
So where are we going to do that at,
It
Georgie?
can't be a one-part
Where are we
thing.
going
It
to
has to
do
be a
that at?
two-part.
CRT could be a place. So go ahead. Did you want to say something?
Oh,
Suffix?
sorry. Oh,
CK?
yeah. Oh, sorry. How y'all doing? I'm tuned in. You know what I mean? I've been watching you for a couple of days now. Sorry about that. I wanted to talk about CRT. I feel like that the kids should know, because when we was growing up, I'm 35 right now, but when we was growing up, you know, they taught us a lot of lies in school. So it's like they taught us, like, Christopher Columbus discovered America. They taught us a lot of different things. So I feel like it'll help our kids to learn the truth and
Right.
to just, you know, I feel like it's gonna help our kids learn the truth and then help them elevate so they won't feel like victims, so they can understand and learn how to maneuver, just like you were saying earlier, George.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has to be a two-part thing. I think like I said before, it has to be two-part. If you're going to teach critical, you can't teach the reason why without teaching the reason how, right? A way how.
Right.
So you can't tell me you can't do this without telling me how to do it to get around it. So what we're missing, if you're going to teach it, you're going to have to teach how to get around it. You're going to have to teach the how to advance past this. So, and then we add on, now you're saying tear down anything that represents racism, right? Tear down statues, tear down this, tear down that. You know, but really what we're destroying is the very thing that you're telling people that they need to learn that has oppressed them. So now all of racism or racists get a clean slate now. There's no statues up, there's no this up, there's no that up. So now we're just erasing history. So it's almost contradictory to teaching critical race theory if you're going to go back and erase everything that you don't think to be represented now in America. I mean, be shown in America, not represented.
I mean, but do you feel like we should still have to walk around and see these statues of people that was, like, you know,
yes,
against everything that we believe in now? We should have to see those statues posted up. I feel like that's like a smack in the face, you know.
Absolutely. And I don't think
I feel like we could still teach the kids stuff without having to show them the statues, because if they learn what the person really did and then they see the statue, that's like praising somebody. That's like praising the person with the statue, like, you know what I mean?
I don't think it's praising them. I think it's a reminder not to forget. You can read a book and go on, but when something is in your face again and now you have education behind it, it makes you far more probably deadly or more effective in what you do. And so you can't just say, I'm going to teach you this in a classroom for 1 month or a day, and then now you just go on with your life and be married. No, I think it's there as a reminder. And I don't think you tear them down and let racists forget their past. I think it's a reminder for everybody. But if we eradicate it all, then nobody is accountable for their history, and we just pretend like it never happened.
I mean, I don't think we eradicate it all when we taking down
because guess who all
statues.
these people represent? It represents them. Well, of course, the Democrats are like, yeah, tear it all down because it eliminates our total history of what we've done to people of color.
As far as, like, I'm really like, I'm not Democrat or Republican, like, because I feel like now, like, it's more of like a big argument both ways. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to figure out. I just feel like every time I'm watching TV, I see they arguing back and forth. Like, I watch all the news. I watch each news, and it's like they going back and forth. Even our senators and stuff, they can't agree. Like, it's like we can't agree on nothing. Like, if we get a Democrat president, everybody else, nobody falls in line. Like, they always arguing back and forth, and it's like, I don't.
Well, because
I
you
just
always
don't
see
know.
division and
I was
contention.
raised Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised. That's what I thought I had. You know what I mean? As a black person, I thought I had to be. You know what I mean? That's what I thought we had to be. We was all Democrat. Then when I started getting older and realizing, like, you know what I mean? Especially even now with our last president Trump, when he was president, right? Say if you disagree or agree with something that he was doing, they'd be like, oh, you a Democrat, you love Trump, you love Trump. It's like, no, I understand. Like, I agree with some of the stuff he was saying. Like, I agree, like, how direct he was. And now that we got Biden, it's like, sorry, now that we got Biden, it's like he came up with the mandates. First of all, they tell us everything that they're gonna do. They promise us all this stuff, and then then he came and hit us with mandates. And I'm like, damn, what about the people who was out here leaving their home, leaving their family, going to work, and now that they're not sure about the the vaccine, they getting fired from their jobs and stuff like that. So I'm like, dang, like y'all was
You
saying
don't
Trump
think
is so
Congress had
evil.
anything to do with that?
Yeah, it's all in one. But like, I feel like the president, I don't blame the presidents. You know what I'm saying? Because
I mean,
from now I
to
see,
even
like,
like a president that said he would never have black people count his money. I mean, Trump's racist paper trail is so long. He could probably write a freaking 3,
This is
4, 5,
Biden's
6
mean,
million
racist
books
paper
straight.
that's
trail. We
all.
need about
Yeah, that's what
5 of
I'm
these for
saying.
Biden's racist paper trail.
That's
The
all the
difference is
presidents.
Biden's
That's all of
racist
them.
paper trail is in has been in our in Washington. So his is far more deadly or than Trump's.
I
Well,
believe
I
that
don't know. I think
Trump's
they all
history,
the
I
same.
mean,
They all
show
got
me
a
where
bad
Joe
history.
Biden has been sued for not renting to black people. But, Trump just does stupid things as far as racism
I mean,
goes.
but
I mean,
I
saying
don't
that
think.
Haitians are from shithole countries. I mean, saying that
But then
Mexicans
Yeah,
or
Biden,
some of them are
Biden
rapists.
let all of
His
the
his,
other
his
countries
racist
come in through the border,
banter
and he
is
sent the Haitians
ridiculous.
back when they came across the border. He put
I
them.
mean, I don't want to. I don't really want to make it about the presidents, because we could go back and forth with Biden,
Yeah.
the stuff that he did, Trump, the stuff that he did. They all, like, all the presidents got bad backgrounds from when, as far as I know, like, all of them. I just
Yeah,
feel
it's
like
true.
it's a one big argument where I feel like we just need to all come together, like the
Yeah,
people. Like,
that's true.
I feel
But
like the
listen, we're
people
in
need to come
America
together.
and there's a two-party system. That's why
Can
you're seeing the arguments, because you're basically fighting two ideals. You're fighting the old ways and the new ways. That's all this is. This is old ideologies, the mere fact that people think that they can get in the way of somebody having an abortion or not. These are the arguments of the right, that there should be life preserved even at heartbeat. But our society, our laws have progressed. HIPAA laws. We have so much protection now. So leftists are saying it's my body, my choice, because literally,
Exactly.
lawfully, that is true. And people on the right are trying to fight that. So as we're progressing, we're progressives on the left. People on the right are tugging us back and predating us back.
I mean,
Hence
but would you
the
guys say that you're
quote unquote
progressive
make
when
America
you're
great
not
again? So
advanced
that's what you're
anywhere?
seeing, the old and the new fighting each other for the ideals that we want to move forward with and the ideas that we want to keep and preserve.
But I feel like why are we letting certain people argue, like, why are we letting certain people do that? You know what I'm saying? Us as the people should be able to come up
Well,
and
people on
come
January 6th
together and say,
insurrection, they were trying to make sure that some things don't happen.
Because
But let me tell you this, you really got to understand that this country was built off of the ideas of white superiority. Those
facts, I
ideas
understand.
still exist till this day. I don't think any African American person in America would have picked Joe or Trump. Go run and tell that.
True. Yeah, well,
So
I was
do
like,
we
it was
really
like
have a say in what's happening in our country? I mean, 50 years ago, it was actually illegal for any black person to even drink at the same fountain as white people. So that's what CRT is. It's to make people understand that we have not come that far. I don't think you guys realize, and I'm just starting to realize that we haven't really, our country is still young. Maybe our kids probably won't deal with racism, but our parents are still alive still to this day and been dealing with racism their whole life.
Right.
It hasn't been that long.
I mean, I think for what the guy, I don't know what his your
sophisticated
street name
ignorance.
is.
It's sophisticated ignorance, but my name Neil.
I was trying to sound it out just a moment ago, and I can't see it. I'm like, what am I trying to read?
Yeah, sophisticated ignorance.
I agree with you in a lot of ways. I think part of the reason why the fighting is always there because you always need division and contention, right, in order to maintain power. So if they ever allowed us just to get along and get on the same page and say, you know what, I really don't disagree with you a lot on this, I just maybe want to tweak it, then they wouldn't be in power. And until people of color realize that we actually are the power, because if you notice, every 4 years they're fighting over us. And then and we're letting them convince us that we're the victims when we really are the power. And so if we made a decision to say, you know what,
they're not fighting for us, though. I have to interject, Georgie.
They're not fighting for us, they're fighting over us.
No, they fight for our vote, like to swing the vote.
Exactly.
Right.
They're fighting for not only our vote, which they're fighting for the most votes. So it depends what president is trying to be get elected. So Trump, he created the MAGA hats, so he had to look appealing to the right.
Right,
So
but he still said he was going to help black people.
He tried to do a Southern strategy deal, but look what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden wanted votes, so he wanted the way.
And he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
You ain't black.
And we should have ran for the hills.
So if we guess what, Georgie? If we would have ran for the kill, Trump would be president right now.
What I'm gonna tell you what I think people of color should do. We need to date both parties every 4 years, and it's up for renewal. We need to make a mass exodus out of the Democrat Party, because guess what? I think if we make a mass exodus out of the party, they will then start meeting our demands, right? And if we are over there with the Republicans and they don't meet our demands, we make a mass exodus. But the reason why they're not meeting our demands because they can depend on our vote without having to do anything. We give them the vote just because we're a person of color. We just give it to them.
That's not true. I'm an African American person, and I voted for Biden because I wanted to get these racists away from society, thinking that they could just run up to black people at our movements and say all lives matter. The MAGA hats created that freaking hoo-ha between the BLM and Blue Lives Mattering. You know, these people got really ballsy last year. It was very unacceptable. People lost their lives. It was very racist driven, is what I'm saying. To me, I don't see the difference between a MAGA hat and a freaking KKK uniform, to be honest. I really feel like it perpetuated us and predated us back to the 1960s freaking civil rights movement.
You think?
I know.
I'm Andrea. Is it okay if I resend my request? I just want to have my camera on. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, do whatever you need to, love.
Oh, thank you.
But before you go on, and I know you've been trying to get on, and I want you to get all of your thoughts out. Let me just say this back to CRT. Wait, hold on. The implications of CRT: erase barriers to upward mobility for minority populations, rectify racism in policing and the criminal justice system, so that young minority men have a better chance of going to college than to jail. Right now, HBCUs have millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars in funding. How many black boys in Chicago, Louisiana, Atlanta can get their hands on that money and go to college instead of being in the streets, might be able to pay for dorms so that they're in a place where they could just study.
That you mentioned are ran by black Democrats. So we can't call it racism. We would have to call it by what would be self-oppression. I don't know if there's a word for it, but we couldn't call it racism when the cities that you're mentioning are ran by black Democrats. So what are they doing?
Really? So what do you think would be done by Republicans? Why aren't Republicans trying to be the savior? Republicans are not trying to save nothing. Republicans are not going to Chicago and saying, this is what I'm going to do for you. Hell, they don't even pitch us nothing. The only pitch I've seen is the pitch that Donald Trump was going to pitch was the Platinum Plan, and I haven't heard of the Platinum Plan since. Okay, so let me just
But why
finish
do
this,
we
which was
why
the
do we
implication
need
of CRT.
government to save us? Why do
So let me
why
just say
can't
this.
why can't we come
CRT will
together and say
assure
we're
that
gonna save
minority
ourselves?
viewpoints and interests are taken into account, which they're not really right now. I don't really feel like majority of us are being heard. It's kind of amazing to me. In every major policy decision the nation makes, you know, considering us, develop new immigration policies that allow a freer flow of workers and capital, while assuring that new arrivals do not enter on terms that weaken the ability of current workers to unionize and seek workplace reforms. I mean, that would be really helpful for, you know, people at the Mexican border and other people that migrate here. So you have to understand CRT isn't an implication for just Black people. And I want to say that Black people have been the big brother of every other race and minority in this country since the beginning. I don't think they give us enough credit. Instead, they make money off of us and keep it on the hush hush. But, you know, I really want to see Mexicans and Latinos and Asians say freaking thank you to, you know what I'm saying? I really just want to see more. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, maybe I don't see it. But I just see a lot of them making money off of us.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I just wanted to say everything. Like, I've been agreeing with you so far, Andrea. Just like everything you were saying, I was like, okay, yeah. I just wanted to say one thing I disagree with you just a little bit, I guess, is that I think CRT isn't so much about. I think CRT isn't necessarily going to fix the issues within the Black community. It's more about bringing awareness to the societal issues, and I think that that is just as valuable and necessary. I think that that's the thing. I would liken it to, like, if you were in a situation where you're in an abusive situation, for some people, they may find ways to maneuver around the abusive situation. I used to be in a situation where it was like that, with an abusive parental situation. And so I had to navigate that space, recognizing that there were certain things that could trigger the parent, and there were certain things I had to do differently. And I did all of that. But I still can recognize that the situation was abusive and I shouldn't have to go through that. And I can bring that attention to that from outside as well to get necessary resources. So I think that, George, what you were mentioning earlier, I think that the thing is that, like, we within the Black community, I don't think anybody in the Black community is saying that we just throw up our hands and say, oh, well, this systemic oppression is there, so we just give up. But no, we can simultaneously say, yeah, let's do the best we can to navigate this space, while also recognizing there are systemic issues that need to be fixed and addressing those issues. And I think my problem with a lot of conservatives is that they only want to address the individual responsibility, but without looking at the larger systemic issues that make those things happen. And I just don't think it's a necessary, like, earlier the gentleman, I think it was Mr. Red, mentioned that, like,
I'm sorry to cut you off. Can you give me an example of one of the things that when you say systemic, because that's kind of a big word for me.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of what you're saying?
So earlier redlining was mentioned. And so, yes, I know that for, like, on a legal sense, redlining is not currently on the books. However, when we look at, like, economics and how things work, the Black community still feels the effects of redlining, and there's never been anything done to compensate for that. So when you put a bunch of people in a certain area, you don't allow them to get nice homes, that reduces the equity that they're allowed to build. Then you also don't put resources, because part of redlining was not only that they put them in poor areas, but then they also didn't allow certain businesses to even go into those areas. That means that the area where you live at is going to have poor resources just in general. And businesses are just not going to just all of a sudden start popping up there. And when they do, it usually is because of, like, gentrification, where wealthier people are moving in, and now it's too expensive for the people who lived there before. So even though it's not on the book still, the effects of it are still being felt. So we need to address those specific things.
But
there
how
are
do
things
we
in
address it? Okay, we can address it, but after that, after we've addressed it, we've acknowledged it, now we're addressing it. What is your solution to fix it?
We need money.
The solution,
we need
money.
money.
Like putting money into the community and maybe even like endorsing businesses, like specific businesses to come into the area and start businesses there. So that brings in jobs, that brings in better quality, like for instance, like grocery stores, they get better quality food. That's better for people's health. Those are specific things that you can do to improve a community, and do it in a way where the people who are there are not also going to be edged out by the prices of it. So I'm not saying
that, because gentrification
also
is
like
really real.
System as well.
But my thing is this: I don't think they want to put the money. Even Martin Luther King Jr. said this. He says, like I said, this is from Martin Luther King Jr.'s words. He said, desegregating us was free, no problem. Making redlining illegal, free, no problem. What else? All these social constructs that hurt Black people don't cost a thing. Just to say, hey, Black people, now you can eat at a restaurant, or you can go to a fountain, or you can be human beings in society. That doesn't cost anything. But it's going to cost money to go to Chicago and pay for these police to get extra training so that they know the difference between a criminal and a Black person in a hoodie.
The police, I think the police chief or captain, whatever they call him, the one that's over all the police, the Black guy that's there, he was actually here in Dallas. He did a really good job here in Dallas. The reason why he's probably not effective in Chicago is because they're not enforcing the laws that he's there to enforce. So you can't say arresting people lower crime, but you can go in and rob a store, and as long as it's under $1,000, we're going to let you go, right? You can't. It's a tricky balance.
So this is why I've suggested, and I've been ridiculed by some TikTok creators for saying, listen, I'm in the business stores, Georgie. We're both realtors, and he's actually an investor as well. I don't see why people don't understand how real estate works pertaining to Black people in certain areas and having this victimhood thing. I don't think people understand that those properties usually are not all Black people. Let me just say this. I've been watching Listing Atlanta, and my mouth is just at awe at Atlanta. I've never been to Atlanta. I've only been to the airport. I can't wait to go to Atlanta, because that to me is like the new Black Wall Street. People in Atlanta, from my perspective, the way the media portrays it, is that Atlanta is where Black people go to be successful. Like that to me. So let's talk about Atlanta, where Black people are thriving in business and developing and things like that. It's amazing to see. I love that show. But
you use Atlanta as an example. That was a collective idea of Black people to get together and to build their own system, right? They did not wait for the government to come in and start putting money there. And
exactly.
And so to her point, I think it's East of Life, I think it is, or
East of Alley.
I can't read today.
East of Alley is fine.
East of Alley. To your point, I agree. I think there has to be a part where you say, fine, we're going to give incentives for businesses to come here to build the system, right? And then there's got to be a part to maybe where there's an incentive where there's tax abatements, where we say, okay, fine, in these minority communities that have been underserved or whatever, what we're going to do is do tax abatements if you're redoing your house or something like that, so that people can have pride of ownership. They can take their own initiatives to rebuild their community. But when you get government involved, they are a bad steward of our money. So telling government to give them more money and they're going to be a good steward of our money, they have our money already, and they've proven to be a bad steward of it.
So I can
understand that the land is bought. This is what I want you guys to understand. People always wonder, why do you talk about real estate? Because it's everything to do with the environment that you're living in. Okay, you have to understand that who buys the property that people rent in these inner cities? Who buys those properties? Investors. Investors can be anybody.
But who's selling it to them? We are selling them our own properties, and we haven't made a decision to say we're going to get together and fix our own neighborhood. Because
you can't do that if you don't have money.
Okay, Ali is saying that they want to invest, we want to invest, but that does take a lot of money. But what Georgie is trying to say is, if we put our money together, we could buy back our environment, if that makes sense.
But I don't think, like, places where there's already poverty, even if they pool their money, I don't think there's going to be enough collective money there to be able to do the large scale reforms that you would need. And here's my issue when it comes to, like, I understand like the distrust of like the government doing it, but at the end of the day, the government were the ones who disadvantaged us. So it's a situation like if somebody
No,
hits
not
your
was,
car,
is. Not was,
yeah,
was,
it is, yeah,
or
I
it is.
think you're
was.
Yes,
insinuating
it
a
is, it
handout.
definitely is. But I'm saying like it's just like if somebody hits your car and they wreck your car, and then all of a sudden when it's time to go like get the payment for it, they're just like, oh well, why don't you why don't you just work to or why don't you you have some money saved up, I'm sure, like why don't you just pay for it? Like you're gonna be like, no, I need your car insurance, you need to pay for this because you did the damage. And the thing about it is that reparations and like this idea of like
See,
reparations,
this is
not
when
just born.
this is when I start sounding like a conservative. Nobody is going to fix anybody's life. Like
Nobody's
nobody.
saving that.
No,
They're
no,
not
no, no. I'm
Nobody.
not saying.
But
Oh
this is
yeah,
what
no,
I'm
no, no. I
saying
don't mean it.
is the mere fact that I don't like when conservatives say that black people have a victimhood, victim this, victim this. Okay,
Mhm.
but I can understand why they say it. I just would never have the audacity to call my people victims because I know we are survivors. But that doesn't
Yes.
negate the fact that the excuses are relentless. It's like a revolving door of the government having to do this, having to do that. I'm writing a song right now where I'm talking about, I'm trying to paint a picture where black people are shooting each other, but yelling at white people screaming for help, and white people are laughing. It's like, why the heck? We do need white people. There's more of them in this country, right?
We
Black people are
don't.
only less than 13% of this. We are not, there's not that many of us. I don't think you guys realize that
We
there's
don't need a
50 states.
dependency. What we need to do is
We
what
do
we need
need
to
them.
do.
To say that we don't need them, yet Indians
Yeah.
come here from India and they become doctors and they assimilate. Chinese people come
Well,
here, they get businesses, they
the,
assimilate. Everybody
I
else,
do.
every other race is willing to go here, except for Spanish people. They said, hable, hable español, un
I
poquito
do want to just
inglés.
point out
They ain't
their
speaking no goddamn
circumstances
lick
usually a little bit
of
different.
English. What'd you say?
Their circumstances are just usually a little bit different, only because the people who immigrate to America from like Asian countries tend to also be wealthy people who are also coming with some form of wealth to get things like a business set up or something. But I wanted to go back to what we were talking about with the other thing. Like I'm not saying that like anybody's going to solve anybody's problems, but the thing about it is, at the end of the day, within our legal framework, if you do something that causes damages to someone else, you have to pay for that.
They're
You
not going
can't
to,
just like
sis.
do.
Sis,
They're
they're
not.
not going
We
to.
can hold
They're
our
not
breath
going to
until
do
you
it.
pass
They're
out.
not
We're
going
I
to
mean,
not
do
they've
doing
done
it.
it
it.
before, though. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. We've
but
done it
they're not
before. We
going.
did it to
Yeah,
Japanese people
yeah,
when we
yeah.
had the internment
Hawaiians.
camps.
Yeah,
They
but
got paid for it. The
they
Native
ain't gonna do it
Americans
for
have
us.
like
They ain't gonna
Well,
do it
hell,
for
if
us.
we keep
they
if
were
we
toppling around at one point, giving the people that came here illegally $400-something thousand
Somebody said
dollars,
exactly,
and we
babe.
haven't
Well,
even gotten
but
hold on.
reparations. So
Check out the
we can.
comments.
I
So,
think we got to stop
the,
holding our breath for that.
the point of
yeah,
what I'm saying is
Georgia, I'm not waiting.
that is so
I'm not
what
waiting.
what Georgie mentioned earlier would be like, oh well, if we if I'm a victim like this, that's where the only one place where I really like agree 1000% with that idea is that if we keep saying to ourselves, oh yeah, they're not going to give it to us, they'll never give it to
But
us.
I don't
But
want
if we
it.
keep
I
this
don't
at
want
the
them to give me
forefront,
nothing. I don't want them to give
right?
me
But it's not.
nothing.
But Andrea, it's not just about you. There are other Black people
Yeah,
who
but guess
need
what?
that to be able
You,
to improve their lives.
who? Because every
Like we
person that
said,
I know, let me tell you something. My mother does. My mother is on welfare. She is on disability. She's disabled. She lives in Hawaii, in the most beautiful place you could ever live. She has Section 8, and she has assistance financially from the government, and she's very good with her credit and lives a decent life. She doesn't need more money. She doesn't need anything else more. She has the basic needs, and she's
right? But there's
almost
Black
60
people
now.
in America
She
who don't have those basic needs.
Okay, so
That's what I'm
but
saying.
guess
Like there's
what?
people who
But
don't
my
have
thing is this.
them.
Okay, I get that, but what don't they have? You're living in a country, and this is when I'm going to start conservative. You're living in a country where medical is free. I don't think you guys know that. I still get free medical because I haven't made that much money in real estate. When I get married, yeah, this year, I probably won't qualify. I'm for sure. My man's work for the state. He's got good insurance. I'm not going to qualify. But since we're not married, I've been getting free medical insurance. My kids have been getting free medical insurance. And I've heard people with money say that it's literally broken their pockets to have children. Okay. So let me tell you something. Any black person saying that they're hurting financially, I live next to one of the biggest hospitals in the country, Yale, and it's full of black people. And I'm pretty sure in New Haven County, a lot of them in the situations that they're in are in a lower the income housings, and they're all in there. Actually, my mother is a serial visitor to the hospital. She constantly goes to the hospital. Like literally, they literally know her by name. It's ridiculous. She takes advantage of the mere fact that she has free freaking medical. Who do we thank for that? Who's paying for that? American dollars. Let's be thankful for that. We're not in that bad of a situation, is what I'm saying. So, well, who's hurting medically? Are you talking about older people?
But in America, there are children who go hungry. Like
okay, so let's talk about hungry. Food stamps. Let's talk about food stamps. I know people.
But that doesn't last you.
But hold on, sweetie.
So
I know people that sell their food stamps. In fact, I had a girlfriend who was a hustler. I'm not friends with her anymore because I realized
You can
she
buy
just liked
10
it.
for 20 in
Let me tell you
Dallas.
something. I mean, that's my problem. That's why I've been trying to lean center because like I'm not going to be in denial. Like this girl that I thought was my friend said, before I met my fiance, I was a single mom in lower income housing. And she gave me her card and said, if you need money, Dre, go to the store and get you. She gave me like $150, which was a lot of money when I was a single mom. And I came back and she goes, where's the cash? My friend, I said, what do you mean, what cash? She got like $700 worth of food stamps and she has one kid. The state gives her a truckload of free food. I couldn't believe that. I had 3 jobs. I couldn't afford to go to the grocery store. And she told me to give her money in cash. Okay. And she also told me that she sells her food stamps. These are things that are going on. So let's talk about low income housing. Low income housing is cheap as hell. Cheap, 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 cheap.
Yeah, but not all low income housing is even good.
Let's talk about Section 8. Let's talk about
like,
Section 8.
Easter Valley,
But
can
Andrea,
I
like,
ask
I
you
get
a
what you're
question?
saying. I understand the point you're making. I'm not saying, like, again, I'm not a person saying it's impossible for people to make it. What I'm saying is that there are people who, just as a factual statement, are suffering in our country.
How?
Because of
What I'm telling you is
and
now,
they don't have, either don't have the social programs in the areas or whatever the
Easter Valley,
situation
have
is.
you been
There are
Easter
people who are
Valley?
suffering.
Easter Valley, do you
crazy.
travel often?
I
Like
used
out
to.
of the
I don't
country?
travel as much as I used to, but I used to.
You know what? I want to audit. You know, I like to
Okay.
audit America because for all you people that
even
I'm
in
talking about whites
America,
and blacks
poverty-
that are freaking having businesses. Let me tell you something. I've gone to the hood and I see some freaking Mercedes Benz, freaking this and that. I've had girlfriends have full blown out businesses in their house on welfare with Section 8. Let's be real. Let's be freaking real. Ain't no black person hurting in America.
Not everyone's experience. So, are you saying that there
Isabella,
aren't
let me
people
say this.
whose kids go hungry in America?
Who's going hungry? Where?
Okay, even in
Where?
America,
That is definitely a documented phenomenon in America.
Because I can tell
we
you this
have
right
lots
now,
of people
every
who go
person that
hungry.
I know that's not making 6 figures, that's living paycheck to paycheck, is getting food stamps, and they give you a shit ton of freaking food stamp money.
if you're going hungry in
But
America,
it's something not everyone's.
Part of my choice.
From what I understand,
In fact,
it's
didn't
dependent on
Biden just
region. Not
extend
everyone
food
gets the
stamps?
same amount of benefits.
I
Let me
think
look at. I want to see how many children are.
But here's the thing with the food. Here's things with social services and food stamps and so on and so forth. It forces you to stay in poverty because anytime you try to work to get $1 more just to get ahead, they're going to kick your ass right back into the ditch and probably even further in. So I think the question that we have to propose here is, how do we educate people to get out of that?
Look, let me just tell you something. So one girl said this. She said that's a lie. I'm in a state where I can't get food stamps because I work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like different
Let
states
that
have different
sink in.
benefits.
Wait, hold on, you guys.
So
Hold on. Why would you want food stamps if you're working?
Because you can be okay. So for instance, the state that I
don't
live
get
in,
that.
The poverty line was low. So basically, working. There was one point where I had something really weird happen with my parents where like somehow I got separated from their insurance, and even though I was living at home, I had to file for my own insurance. And the jobs that I had 2 part-time jobs because I couldn't get a full-time job. And the 2 jobs that I worked, I fell where the poverty line was. And basically it was like right on the poverty line where it was like, so it was not enough for me to like, for 1 year I qualified for Medicare that year, but then the next year I got like a few more hours at work and it pushed me over the limit. And I was like right at the limit where I was still in the poverty range, but I was above the line of where they assist you. So it's not as simple as like, oh, if you have money, then like, no, you can be like when the gaps are like pretty small where you can like just be above what they consider the poverty line, and then you don't get assistance, but you still are poor. Like it's not.
Do you have kids, Allie?
Like,
wait, hold on. Do you have kids, Allie?
No, I don't have any kids.
Okay,
no, I don't have any kids.
So get another job.
I had 2 jobs, hon.
You gotta get 3. Then you gotta get 3. You gotta get 3.
But, but hold on.
I've had 3.
Where, like, I get into
I've worked 3 jobs.
I've worked 3
jobs. I've worked 3 jobs. Like
too.
I'm not telling you. I've lived in my car. I've worked 3 jobs, and I would wake up in the morning in my car, okay, and I would go to one job. As soon as I get off, I'd have like an hour to freaking take a shower at the gym, go to another job, then freaking go straight to the like. That's how I lived for a while, and then went to school to get a better job, and I was always applying for different jobs. So I don't understand. Like if I didn't have enough money from a job, I would get more jobs.
Okay, but this is the thing, Andrea. Again, you're looking at it from your circumstances, and I appreciate where you're coming from. Like I said, I've worked 3 jobs at one point because that's what I had to do to take care of myself. But here's the thing. In the area where I lived at for a long time, $7.50 was the minimum wage. And the majority of the jobs around here were minimum wage jobs. The only other jobs that weren't minimum wage were things that required like some type of degree in something. So there was not an opportunity, like basically only jobs you can get here are minimum wage jobs. And that means you're going to have to work at least 2 of those if you can't get a full-time job. So a lot of places don't want to hire you for full-time.
If that's true, then the rent
is not cheap though. So that's what I was going to say. Like another thing that happened in my area is that Microsoft built a like work center there, and they brought in a bunch of workers to work at the Microsoft.
I'm not a conservative, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm not a conservative. I am a leftist.
They did not. You think that? They did not hire local people. They hired like people they already had and brought them there. That made the housing market go sky high, and a lot of apartments here are based off of trying to appeal to the people who work for Microsoft, and the people who lived here for years can't afford to rent anymore because it's so expensive.
Gentrification. That's horrible. That's absolutely
right.
horrible.
But so I just want to go back to what you said about, oh, well, go get another job or get 3 jobs. No one should have to work 40, 50, 60, 80 hours for basic necessities.
But they do though. So do you know where I'm from?
Right,
I'm originally. But listen,
bad.
You want to know where I'm from? I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. And I'm from the most beautiful place you could ever live in the United States of America. I left my island 6,000 miles away to go to a place called Connecticut because I knew that my life and my kids would have a better chance of making more money and having a better life. When I first came here, I couldn't believe all that people live in houses. Like yeah, but I did, and I don't regret it.
I think the argument that
what I'm saying is, like, okay, so what are you going to do? You're just going to freaking be in a situation that you have no control over. So you're not going to be able to change the mere fact that the minimum wage is going to be what it is. I mean, you're going to have to go through court.
No, they literally have changed the minimum wage. That's what I'm saying. Like that's literally something we can change. They're raising the minimum wage every year, and I think it's going to be up to like $15 in like 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah, but then
that is actual stuff that can be changed.
Salaries increase, inflation goes with it. So if you're making $15 an hour at McDonald's, let's say for instance you're making 15, it has to. If you're making $15 at McDonald's, and the burgers now are $9, those burgers will be $13. So even the person that's working at McDonald's won't be able to.
So,
I just can I just say this, Allie? I have my own business now. And I got there because I strategically made choices in my life that pushed me forward. And yes, I do have a fiance that does help me. But even when I met him, I could have been with any freaking dude. And when I met him, I knew he was had a good head on his shoulder, college graduate. Like every decision that I made brought me to the point to where now I have my own business. And I just could not imagine if I had that mentality. If I had your mentality, love, I would still be back in Hawaii, still struggling. The rent there, I remember at one point, I lost my apartment because our landlord died. We were paying $1,500 a month, gorgeous ocean view. But when she died, we were looking for apartments, and it was like 3,000. It was just like New York. They want to charge you $3,000 for a freaking studio. It was ridiculous. And a lot of people in Hawaii are moving because it's just too expensive. So, you know, in order
Right,
to
but not everybody's gonna
change
even
my
have money to be able
situation,
to move.
I didn't have money to move. I came here with a freaking prayer, man. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
I
But that's what I'm saying, like,
sacrificed.
that's bad. Like,
It's
you
just
shouldn't
horrible.
have to go
always
through that.
It was, listen,
Isabel,
Allie,
But
I
I
it
get
was,
what
just
you're
want
okay.
saying.
Okay,
I just
Isabel,
want to
hold
address
on,
something.
hold on. Let me just finish my. It was
Mhm,
absolutely
go ahead.
horrible to sleep in my car and save my money and work 3 jobs. It was absolutely horrible being a single mom in a very expensive state. Connecticut is really not that cheap, to be honest. But I did what I had to
Yeah.
do. I did what I had to do, and guess what? It paid off. I mean, I can't imagine in the slave era times when my ancestors were slaves. Okay, I don't even know how. Sorry. Oh God, it really froze. I
Okay.
been in America because that's how long they've freaking been here. I can't imagine if Harriet Tubman came to my room and said, "Hey, listen, come with me. I'm going to take you to the north where they have free states where you are going to be considered a citizen or whatnot. You don't have to be here, but we're going to have to get through we got to get through the slums, alligators." I can't imagine what my ancestors, which is really me in a different era, if we fast forward time, went through to be free. 300,000 slaves freed themselves before the Emancipation Proclamation because they said, no more, not going to stay here. This is freaking crap. I'm going to go get something better. How many people died going to went to the Underground Railroad? I mean, I can't even imagine people thinking that just stay put, just be slaves. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Can I
Yeah,
ask
I
Issa
agree with you.
Ellie
I just
this?
want to address
Issa,
two things
Issa
that
Ellie,
were said. I just want,
if
sorry, Dred,
salaries
I
are
just want to address
low,
this really quick. I just wanted to address
Issa,
what you asked,
Cammy,
mentioned earlier.
Cammy Dot Wilson, if my face scares you, I don't know, scroll up. Go ahead.
So there's two things I wanted to address. One was that what you said about, like you said, if you raise the minimum wage, then it also makes the prices of things go up. That's inaccurate. Basically, what you're talking about is inflation, and that's already been happening. So we already see a steep rise in prices. Well, if you look at it like from an economical standpoint, the United States has been having inflation for a while, and we have not raised our minimum wage in a long time. What's supposed to happen is that both are supposed to happen together, but we've only been having our prices go up and not the actual wage go up. And then the other thing was to address what
but you're
Andrea
saying
said about my
but you're saying
mindset.
that the a mandate and increase of salaries does not affect the cost of goods and services, is what you said
The
earlier.
cost of goods and services in America are already rising, so it doesn't
Okay,
matter if we pay people more; they're
agree.
already rising.
We agree to that part. We agree to that part. But if I'm running, let's say for instance, I'm running I don't know, a wood plant or something of that nature, where I'm selling timber. If you're telling me that now that I have to increase salaries, then I either have to increase production and sell more goods, or I have to increase the cost of goods in order to cover those salaries. The money is not falling from manna from heaven. Okay, so when I increase the cost of goods, then the house that you can't afford now becomes even more expensive because the cost of that's how it works. That's how it works.
No, because
listen, I
that's the
see
thing.
a difference between you and in your conversation and your arguments, and how, like, I actually don't really agree with a lot of things Georgie says, to be honest. And no, with all respect, we're friends here on TikTok, but him and Red say a lot of offensive things pertaining to, you know, like well, actually, Georgie, I'm sorry, I don't mean to mix you with Red. You are a happy medium, okay? Red says, I'm sorry, very offensive things, but listen, I'm a leftist and I want to help.
Why I laugh like that? Because it's the way I want to laugh.
I want to help people that can't. I love that. I love that I don't need to help people that don't know. I want to go into these communities and help them understand that. And guess what? You could buy a house 0% down. How's that? How is that?
Can I address what George said? Because so he said about the
He's like, I need to sell more. I need to raise the prices. So what happens is when you raise the minimum wage, people have more money, and so they buy more. What we know for a fact is that when people have more money, they put that money back into the system. So you are going to make the money back by just the fact that people have more money to spend. Like if a lot of people have a lot of money, like for instance, people would eat out more often if they had the money to do so. But a lot of people don't eat out as much because they don't have as much money to like spend like that way. I also wanted to address what you said, Andrea, about like me personally. Personally, I am a person who believes in bettering myself. Like I said, I've worked multiple jobs. I'm literally in the process of trying to get another job to be able to work another job. My plan is to go into the psychology field and go to Europe to be able to study for that.
So why the need to coddle our people and make them feel like they can't do what you're doing? I think that's very dangerous.
I want to go back to the original, the illustration I gave you of an abusive situation. To coddle someone would be to say that, well, oh yeah, you're in an abusive situation, so there's nothing you can do to get out of it, and oh well, you should just just accept the fact that they're always going to be abusive to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's coddling. What I'm saying is that you can recognize the situation is abusive and take steps to remove yourself from it while also navigating the abusive situation as safely as possible. So I'm a 1000% advocate for people doing things to better themselves. But I also believe that the government's responsibility, since we're paying our taxes to the government, it's the government's responsibility to give its citizens the tools to improve itself. The citizens also have to take part in their own responsibility, but the government needs to give them those tools as well.
The government's job is not to take care of us. Their job is not to take care of us.
Yeah, it really is, though. That's what we pay them for.
No.
That's what taxes are for.
And we tell them what we want them to do. It is not for them to sit there and say, you're now our caretakers. That is not their
do that.
Their job is only to do what the constituents want.
Right, and I'm saying, like, as a constituents, if we want certain services provided for us, then they need to do that because it's our government. That's something like the government.
No, can I just
like
the police. Hold on. I know you guys are going back and forth, but somebody says, how can you tell the people not to listen? This is a good point. Robin Love _J. How is it the host tells people not to depend on when she gets health care, but yet she gets government insurance? That's my whole point. Is that I'm not a victim to society. I get insurance. My whole point of that was to say that there are already social, what is it called? Social programs that help people financially. I'm very grateful for basic state insurance. However, they've been taking out my teeth because they don't want to freaking fix it because that does cost money. So when I get married this year, I'm going to go on my husband's freaking plan so I can fix my grill that you guys like to freaking point out, by the way. So no, what I'm saying is, how are Black people or any race in this country struggling when we have free healthcare? People say, well, why don't we have free healthcare? We have free healthcare. That's crazy to me.
But that's what's going to address what you just said. Like,
you can go into the hospital if you get sick, and you won't get a bill if you can't afford it.
Easter Valley, are you a socialist? Are you a socialist?
I'm still trying to figure out where I fall on the thing. I'm somewhere between like socialist, communist. I'm not totally sure. Like I need to do more research in economics. I'm not educated enough on economics to have like a fully formed out position on it yet. I'm leaning towards socialism, but I can also be convinced of communism. I think communism is a long-term goal. I don't think we'll get there in my lifetime. But I just want to address what you said about
I think it's going to happen in heaven.
About the like healthcare thing. That's the thing too, is that an experience that a lot of people experience is that not every place takes state healthcare. So some regions may not even have doctors that take the state healthcare. And even with the state healthcare, like you just said, they're pulling your teeth because they don't want to actually put the work in to fix them. It's not good quality healthcare. So that's still disadvantages that are there.
But that's what you get when the government gives it to you. You don't get the best. I can go into a doctor.
But that's what I'm saying. Why not though? Because you're poor? Like, are we saying poor people don't deserve good quality health care? Like,
because
I don't know. I guess it's my socialist belief. I believe
it's about economics. I believe go in there and run up a tax bill for the taxpayers when I can control
if you ain't working and you're on Section 8 with 5 kids, okay? It's
because they are citizens. Okay?
So I'm talking about people that are low income and aren't working. There are a lot of people that aren't working. How about this? How see this for a narrative?
They're not working because if they work, they won't qualify for the free healthcare. They won't qualify for the food stamps. So they get Section 8, collect food stamps, collect free healthcare, and have a
No,
full
that's
blown
just
out beauty salon in the freaking basement. And you know I'm coming to get my
okay.
hair done on Sunday.
So I wanted to address what you said, George.
I know
about
exactly who this
you
person is. Let
you
me tell
mentioned
you. And she's been doing my hair for about 10 years. And I don't say nothing. I just come here and get my hair done.
you mentioned
In the
about
busy
the
hallway.
Somebody needs to clip these ends.
you said about the medical care. You said
Stop lying.
what was it that you said? Oh, so I personally believe that if somebody is a citizen of the United States, they have rights to the bare necessities to sustain their life, and they should have good quality. It should not be bad quality. So that should be health care, food and water, and shelter. Those are like the bare minimums that people need to survive. I think every citizen should have those things guaranteed to them. I don't think we should have a country where there's literally people living homeless in the street and people literally, are worried about where their next meal is coming from. Like everybody should have like a basic level of living that is
And how
good
do we
quality.
give it to these people? Okay,
Yeah,
we
but
have this
that's very
fancy plan
social.
that
I like
everybody
your
Take
idea.
some
I
of the
love it.
will dinner at night.
Listen,
take
How
some
do
of the
we
money
give
away
it to
from
them?
the military. Take some of the money
Take
away
the,
from the military. We spend so much money
I
on the
agree with
military
you.
that's
Hey, Allie, can
unnecessary.
I say this
That's
before?
a huge.
I'm going to have to go by
the
12. So I got
government
about 20 more minutes.
gives
I
them
actually agree with you. I
billions of
love your
dollars in
ideas.
taxes per year. We give them billions of dollars of taxes. They're already
And so much
bad
of it goes to
stewards of our
military.
money. What makes you think that giving them more money, they're going to become better stewards of our money?
That's why,
They're
right? That's
already.
I'm not saying give them more money. I'm saying take it away from the military. We're already
She's talking
giving them
about
that money. Just
she's
take
talking
some of
about
it away from the
allocating.
military.
Okay, I just want to say this, Allie. I agree with
Allocate
everything
it
that.
and then still misuse it. We're just
Yeah.
going to take it from here and still misuse it.
I
We
just want to say,
we have to
Allie.
get on our politicians' backs. We
Yeah,
have
we
to
do.
stop being so
We do.
passive and being like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we'll put them in office and then like not watch what they do. Like I think we need more
Monsters
like
that-
checks and balances of people
Yeah.
who we vote into office. I was thinking about it the other day. Like it would be really
You like
nice
Nancy
to
Pelosi?
have
Do
it
you like
where
Nancy Pelosi?
I
Do you
love
like Nancy
Nancy.
Pelosi?
I'm not really educated on her, but I don't think anything special of her. I think she's just like another greedy politician, probably. Yeah.
No, I love
I mean,
Nancy.
But I wanted to just say I personally was thinking about an idea where like let's say the Democratic president gets voted into office. I think we should have it like halfway through the term where the Democratic people who voted for that president are allowed to take a collective vote and say, hey, we're 2 years in. Do we want to keep this person or swap him out for another person in the Democratic Party?
We do that
That
already,
way-
though. Don't we do that?
We do that already.
No,
Isn't that what the
no.
4 year
You
thing
have
is?
the full
You
4
you
years.
say
They
take
can't
them,
be
take
swapped
them
out.
completely out of office, remove them out of office.
Yeah, and put them in with another Democratic person, like whatever party one gets to swap out for
Okay.
somebody else within their
Allie,
party.
I want to say
I
something
think
to
that
you.
would give.
I want to say something to
And
you
what would be
because
their terms? What would be their terms?
you try to break down the terms, and it's not gonna happen tonight.
Yeah, because I want to know we're swapping out people every 2 years. Are they on
Allie,
2 year
wait, hold
term
on.
limit?
Allie,
or
I
on a
want to
4
say
year
this to you.
Well, no, I'm saying
Can I say
it's
something
like
to
a
you, Allie?
soft.
Because
Oh, yeah.
I this is my first time meeting you, and
Mhm.
I'm Andrea. Nice to meet you, and I hope you come back. I do want to say this. I agree with you, which I'm left. I told you guys. I think that your ideas are very left, and I think that they're beautiful. Unfortunately, I don't think that these aspirations that would be nice are. I think they're just sound bites. I don't think that nothing's going to be done. The things that you're asking for is never going to happen, and I never say never. But reparations, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't even think that we need it, to be honest. We just need to do things differently. And that's my issue with being a leftist. And that's why I'm kind of becoming conservative because, I'm a product of a lot of things that you talk about, domestic violence, poverty, food stamps. I remember counting the food stamps. That's how old I am. But, I never made excuses for myself. And I always pushed myself to be better and better and better. Hung around people that were smarter than me always and always and always, including now. I just don't think that, listen, I understand that there's going to be some people in our race that aren't going to want to change. And that's where I have a problem with, because you have to change if you want to see changes, if that makes sense.
Some people don't want to.
You can't,
Some
you
people
can't
don't
keep doing
want
the
to.
same thing. You can't keep doing the same thing and thinking you're going to get a different result. Listen, I would love nothing more than go see my mom in Hawaii. I haven't seen my mom in a long time. She's 6,000 miles away. But I can't go be there with my mom and get comfortable and live in her house in Section 8. That's what would happen. If I never came to Connecticut, I would have stayed with my mom. She's on Section 8. I would have stayed with her for very cheap rent. I would have, because I couldn't be able to afford anything in Hawaii. It's too freaking expensive. So we ended up staying with her family. It's very dysfunctional and things of that nature. I had to move. I had to change, and is what I'm saying.
I mean, I think East of Valley, there are some people that are just
we got to do something different.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I don't have a problem with self-empowerment and the improvement of the community and people taking responsibility for themselves. But just like there are some people who you said, like, even in great circumstances, do not want to change. There's a lot of people who want to change and don't have the circumstances to be able to. Both of those extremes exist. There's one that we have control over. So
well, Georgie, one, they got to be able to listen to us. A lot of people of our race, they don't really want to listen to people like that have already made it. Like, I've made over $7,000 just this month, and it's only freaking January. And when I don't even understand how I made that much, to be honest. Like, sometimes I'm like, wow, my career is really freaking booming. Like, things that, like, investing, like how you've done, Georgie, is something that's becoming very realistic to me. And I want to be able to teach people how to do it, but you want to continue to talk about welfare, continue to talk about low-income housing. I'm trying to move you up to the freaking big house. But so stay where you are. But I want to be able to help people get there if they want to listen. I don't think that we have to be living in the same these underfunded historical cities. Get the hell out of there. Let me tell you, I think it's fun moving. It would be a scary situation. How do we get there? We work together. I know a few people here on TikTok that are making big moves, Black investors that are willing to give Black people money to start these businesses. I'm telling you right now, you don't need anyone to help you buy a home. You can do zero down. It's very difficult, but guess what? I've done it for a few times for a few clients. Zero down. Why are you renting when you could be buying and building equity? Nothing is stopping you today, is what I'm saying. You can own a home. Redlining has been illegal since 1968. The lenders don't even see you. They don't even deal with you. You deal with the realtors, and the realtors deal with everybody. So, I mean, they're not going to look at your ethnic name. What they're going to look at is how much money you got. So if you can't afford a big 3-family, single-family house in your neighborhood, get a freaking condo, or better yet, buy a piece of land here in Connecticut. I just sold a piece of land for $6,000. Get a cheap mobile home. Hell, sleep in your freaking car. It's your land. Nobody can ever take it from you. Okay, start there. There are other ways to do things. Live in a cooperative. Cooperatives are really freaking cheap. If you find a good lender, you can get a loan doing that. Live in a mobile home. Live in a modular home. You don't have to be in a place that has high gun violence or low income jobs. You go look online and figure out what jobs are paying the most, and figure out how you can live around that environment. It's all I'm saying. It's like, if nothing's going to change, and I don't see it changing anytime today, freaking move.
I think for East of Alley too. I think a piece of land. You
want to know the acre? I can tell you the acre right now. I just sold it twice.
When you're in your 20s, you want to save the world. When you get in your 30s, you're just going to worry about yourself. And I agree with you. I wish in a lot of ways, like, we could live in this world to where everybody can get taken care of, right? I really do. Like, I don't want people to be in poverty. So even if it sounds like I do, I want people to do well. But like you said, even before, like you said, when we're getting your social services, the moment you try to do better, you're pushed back down. So when we have a dependency on government, then we're going to always be in some level of poverty. You look at the border; those people are not coming into this country in caravans because for asylum. They're escaping poverty, and they're escaping most of the very things that you're asking for.
They can move here, but we can't move out of Chicago.
Yeah. So and they're escaping most of the things that you're asking for. You know, they're escaping the social systems that you're asking for, these bare minimal necessities that you're asking for. A lot of those people are escaping that. So to come to America, to have the opportunity to better their lives without government interference.
Like I said, you're gonna deal with people there. I'm not saying 100% you. I do feel like you do coddle a little bit. There are people that are gonna sit there and make excuses for you, or you're gonna deal with people that make you move. Like Cardi B say, I don't dance now. I make money moves. I mean, even the money moves. Freaking move.
By choice or by force, you're going to have to make a decision at some point. So either you're going to choose to get out of poverty,
do what you want to do, though.
Force out of poverty. It's one or two ways.
Do what you want to do. I'm going to eat lobster. No, I'm not. I'm lying. I'm taking lobster out of my freaking diet. That shit is bad. I'm going to be eating steak. Okay? You want to eat steak with me? I can teach you how to do it. I don't even know.
I really hope that the things that you strive for and the ways that you want to improve the Black community, I really hope that you find success in that.
You.
There is success in there. You have to find
grab your ears.
No, this thing is like at the end of the day, we want the same goals. We want the improvement of the Black community. We want the same goals. So you know, you have a different way of looking at the situation than I do.
Wow, mic drop, Allie. I love you. Okay.
But I know I've taken up a lot of time on your things. So I'm gonna get out here so you can get some other people in if you need to.
I want to get you upset. You're too nice. I think you're too nice.
It's hard to get me upset. Like
even though I don't agree with a lot of
it's hard to get me upset and say like a person says some off the wall shit. Like then I will get mad. But like for the most part, I'm pretty chill.
I love that. All right, sweetie. Come
take
back.
Care.
Yeah.
Okay, I will.
All right. I think we have time for I do want to talk to this guy, and I think that's all. I need to go to bed. Jeff is gonna freaking kill me. This JWIL has been very vocal in the comment section, and I want to give him the floor. You there? Hello.
I just hear dark screen. Can you hear me?
You fell asleep on us?
No, I'm not asleep. No, I'm here. Can you not hear me?
Yes, my husband's name is Jeff. We're not married yet. I'm engaged. We're getting married September. But yeah. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, so how are we doing tonight? I don't know. For some reason, the screen went black. But
yeah, tell us what's going on. The subject was CRT and
right, right. I got a whole long list of things, but and I know you only got a few minutes.
I feel like with him, I should put on my seatbelt, so I'm gonna buckle up for this one.
For me? Oh no, I'm not that like outrageous or controversial. I do think one thing that we really.
Oh, where did he go? He got kicked off. Can you please come back? I don't know why it does that. Wow. Did anybody get anything from CRT conversations today? I think that's the only like exhausting part of politics is I feel like sometimes it's just like people aren't getting it. But it's important because you know what? These things aren't going to change. Like these arguments are going to be on Fox News, CNN. It's going to be at your dinner table on Christmas. Like these.
And I think it's a constantly evolving conversation. I don't think we could right now just be so set on one thing where I've been open to evolving the conversation on different ideas and a collective of ideals.
Yeah, I think that's why creators like you and I and everyone that pitches in and gives their opinion need to be promoted more, because if we can learn to have these points of views, have these differences of opinion, and not let it dictate the way we vote, dictate the way we treat people. You can have these feelings. It's okay. Nobody's perfect. People are going to have their own point of view. But what the problem is that when it hits systemically, it disproportionately affects minorities. And that's what we really want to abate. Listen, you're not going to like everybody. Hell, you might not even like Black people. But we would want for you to allow us to have the same opportunities as you, as far as equality. And also, we would like for you to vote for people that are going to have everybody's best interests and not just yours.
Well, they don't have any right interests in mind. They have their pockets in mind. That's it.
Can I say I'm really glad that conversation that just took place did just take place, And I will say that that is a conversation. I think a lot of people don't know that we have conversations like that inside the Black community. They tell us, "Oh, you only worried about oppression and this and that." No, we have conversations like that. But the thing is I have this ability to multitask, as Ali was saying, and I do think it is important to multitask because if our community is still experiencing systemic racism where we're being held down, we can clean up the community all we want, but they just gonna come burn us down again. Another racism where we're being held down, we can clean up the community all we want, but they just gonna come burn us down again. Another point I wanted to make though is I think in America it is easier to be poor than it is to be working poor. And I think a lot of the points, well, some of the, you mentioned I was pretty vocal. Some of the points I think you were making, Andrea, were reflective of people, things that people that are poor can take advantage of, but not people that are working poor can take advantage of. And I know because I've being that like single man who's making $26,000 a year, it's extremely difficult. Now, I do respect what you said about, get a second job, and I probably should. Okay. But I'm just saying, like, as far as those, you were kind of talking about like some of the things that the government offers. It's just not, I remember talking to a nurse at a clinic, and she was like, when Obamacare came through, right? And she was like, yeah, I was talking to this lady the other day, and she said she don't pay a dime for her health care. And me and the nurse just kind of sat there talking about, like, when are we going to get some relief? Like, I get that in America, we make some efforts to take care of our poor. And I'm not saying, I used to live in Los Angeles, which is, the homeless capital of the world. And, there's a lot of people out there struggling really bad. And I'm not saying everybody has. But I do think in America, we do make some effort to take care of the poor. It's the working poor that really... the lower middle class that really have a lot of tough issues. You want me to keep going on I had a couple other notes that I wanted to go on. Did anybody want to talk about what I said so far, or can I keep? What's that?
I actually agree with what you're saying regarding it being the working poor that suffers the most.
It is. It can be really difficult. Okay, but now one thing I really hate, and I constantly feel like I hear this. It's actually a true insult when people say or imply that I'm Black, therefore I vote Democrat, as opposed to I have done my research and I feel a certain way about these viewpoints, therefore I vote Democrat. And I think somebody earlier was just kind of implying that. George X, I kind of felt like you were kind of saying that, and you kind of talked a little bit about how we need to kind of and I know you were joking sort of, but you were saying what you meant, that we need to date the Republican Party for 4 years and date the Democrats and whatnot. I just feel like I've already dated the Republican Party and they told me who they were, and that just ain't for me. And I do actually do my homework. I'm not necessarily a straight ballot Democrat. I am a progressive, so I like to this is an essay, well, whatever. Somebody can jump in if they want. I'm not a straight ballot Democrat.
Well, I just want to jump in and say that I couldn't imagine being an agent. I'm a realtor, and you guys know this, but you guys don't know the struggle I've had being a realtor in a predominant male business and a predominant white business. It has been very hard for me. There have been months where there were a year where I only sold 3 houses, 3 units. And I have to come up with my dues. I have to freaking pay for all of these things to just practice my business. I can't imagine if I had the mentality that said, well, I'm working, but these other people are doing better than me. So basically, my agency should give me money. They're not going to give me nothing. In fact, they take 50% of everything that I do, which is why now I've extended my school. I'm done with broker school, and I'm just waiting for the okay to take the test to become a broker. I'm 36 years old. I'm terrified of taking tests. But guess what? I went to school again. I paid for it. I sat in class. And now I'm pushing myself forward. So if you are capable of working or educating yourself, you're going to just need to do that. And it's not a race thing, because white people go through the same things. What I will agree with is that Black people are in neighborhoods that need funding. Black people are in neighborhoods, majority of them in this country that are low income are in situations where I feel the rich is taking advantage of them. Okay, a lot of the investors that I deal with are making money off renters. And these renters are, I've even had clients this year tell me that they want Section 8 clients because they know there's a guaranteed check and they know they're probably not going to go anywhere. So when I'm in a situation where I'm like, okay, well, white people struggle too. No one's going to the government is not going to go to white people or black people and say, listen, here's money because of this and that. What they do is they allow you to apply for these programs that are supposed to help you get out of the situation that you're in so that you could better your life. But what I have seen and what a lot of people that are conservative know is the mere fact that a lot of people are making excuses so that they can continue to get government assistance. People say they want reparations. Well, the government has been handing out these assisted programs for a long time. How many people in this country are working and not getting food
Those are not
stamps? I can raise
reparations.
my hand. I don't even like going to the grocery store. My fiance always complains every weekend he goes to the grocery store. It's like $200 and we get, food that will last probably like a week. That's it. And here people are that aren't working are getting $700 to $800, even $1,000, depending on how many kids they are, food free. I have literally paid cash for food and got a few things and saw somebody use the EBT card and have 2 baskets full of food. So to sit there and just dog our country like there isn't any help, there is help. Okay, but are you taking advantage of the help? Okay, because at some point we have to be honest. That's my issue, and I have seen it. I've seen people lean on the government for Section 8, which is fizzing away because people have gotten Section 8 and have torn apart these properties. So sellers don't want to rent to Section 8. In Connecticut, it's illegal not to, just so you know. But they don't have, a lot of them don't have good credit. And that's how they're being discriminated against because they're not being responsible. So at some point, Black people that are responsible, are continuing education, are struggling, but still not making excuses, are looking at some people like, yo, ain't nobody going to give you nothing. So why are you sitting here asking the government and making excuses? It's making us look bad. Stop.
I don't think okay. I think what just happened there kind of brings me to, well, you came really close to doing something that was my next point. If I point out that systemic racism exists, that does not mean that I'm calling myself a victim. That does not mean that I have a victim mentality. I'm pointing out the fact that systemic racism exists.
Okay, so listen.
No. Okay, no. See,
what I'm saying is systemic racism. What I'm saying is systemic racism. I don't know if Georgie believes in it. I know Red doesn't believe in systemic racism. I am telling you that I know it still exists. So why would you still be a part of a system that was not meant for you to succeed?
Okay, but saying that systemic racism exists, let's say we all agree that systemic racism exists, right? But what we're falling victim of is that we have a political system that is perpetuating it, that is teaching us that we are, or perpetuating the idea that we are victims. And so you have people now thinking that they can't get ahead because of that. So yes, if it exists, let's agree, let's say that it exists, right? But it's not to the extent that we can't get ahead.
Well, I never said it did. I do well. I do really well. And I am not trashing America because I have truly benefited from this system of capitalism. I'm doing really fantastic.
Look at you. So what the heck?
And I appreciate it. But I don't think that should stop me from saying, as a person that's doing well, as a person that, the three of us are Black folks that are articulate, that speak intelligently, that work really hard. I think we all have the right to be able to drive down the street, and if we don't break the law, to not get harassed by the police. And that's systemic racism. And I think when I point that out, that doesn't. I feel like a lot of people come back with you're being a victim, and I don't appreciate that implication, I guess, because
I
I'm
agree
not.
with you. I
I'm
think it's
not. And
very
I think,
horrible.
and
I
I
don't
think
like
I
the
would
fact that
actually, and I'm
they
sorry, Andrew,
call.
can I just finish this real quick? I think I would be garbage. I think I would be trash to get where I am right now and not still try to help my cousins and my nephews and the other folks in the hood. That's why I'm saying I can't just turn my back on that. And it's, when I point it out and when I try to fight for equity, that doesn't mean that I'm a victim, because I'm not. I'm not. I'm.
It's true.
Yeah.
The best
Yeah,
thing
but
we
are
can
you
do for ourselves
coddling
is exposure
people
and
that could
education.
be doing
Yeah.
more? Like, listen, let me just say this. I put this picture up here for a reason, and why some of you in the comment section are gaining followers off of my freaking TikTok show. I hope you enjoy that. But I really freaking came here to talk about CRT and talk about this little girl here, Ruby Bridges, who was only 6 years old. I have a 5-year-old right now. She was in kindergarten, and she only got to go to this elementary school because she passed a test. So I think about, it was only a handful that I read that went to the school. There were so many other Black kids that didn't get to the school. These kids had to fight or 50 years plus ago just to get educated. So I look at my community and I said, what are we fighting for? Because little Ruby just wanted to go to school. Where have we taken a turn in our society where now we're just wanting handouts? She didn't get to just go to that school. She had to take a test, and she was only 6.
I've said this on your live before, and I'm going to keep preaching this from the mountaintops. The best thing that we could ever have in our neighborhoods is exposure to other things that get us ahead. Some of the smartest people I know are in the hood. If you went and gave JoJo the dealer some land in Ohio somewhere and taught him how to grow marijuana and be the actual distributor where there's money at, and not have a whatever those called where you sell it at dispensary, he would probably run circles around one of the best CEOs. One of the best things that we could do, instead of asking the government to come in and give us more money, is put some sort of facility in our neighborhoods where they can teach us how to run a business, where they can teach us how to better financing, or where there's people that can teach that there. The best tools that we can have is exposure. Most of the time, for most minority people, their ideal out of poverty is singing or sports or something of that nature for a lot of people. But what if in the schools they came in and brought people that taught people of color or underserved communities how to become stockbrokers and so on and so forth? Because we're not exposed to a lot of those things. I think the best thing that can happen to us is not more government handouts and not more government intervention, but it is exposure to things that we outside of what we normally see.
Now, how do we build the bridge of that exposure without government intervention? Do I have to pay for it?
We have
I ain't
no.
got no
I think
kids.
we have there's vacant buildings sitting in some of these cities. Hell, give some of these vacant buildings that are sitting in these cities that are owned by the city to organizations to start this.
But see, when people say, I mean, you're still like you're towing that line there a little bit, Georgie, because we're talking about governments. We're talking about vacant buildings in cities that are owned by the government. We're still asking the government for something. So, I mean, we still do got to go to the government at some point in time, which is okay because it's our money. The government is supposed to be of us.
If I had a dream, what I would do is instead of asking the government for help, I would give every school that's predominantly Black, I'm talking at least 40%, I would give them uniforms. I would give every kid in that school a uniform, okay? Because what that show, people get so upset, well, you have to assimilate. Now, I don't think you have to assimilate culture, okay? I can speak Pidgin. That's my island that's my island talk. You know what I mean? I can talk Pidgin culturally with my people back in Hawaii, as far as my culture goes. But I don't talk that way when I answer the phone. I wouldn't be able to do a deal if I talk like that. So when I grab a phone, I go, hello, hi, how are you? Oh, yes, I can definitely show you that property. One moment. Let me pull up the MLS and I'll be right with you. Is there anything that you're looking for? Do you have a dog? Okay, good, 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 good. So I have to talk a certain way for people to understand. You have to articulate. So I couldn't go to a house, an open house, wearing this hoodie. I'd have to wear a nice outfit. There is a need that you would have to assimilate in a society that's predominantly run by freaking white people. I mean, you cannot look a certain way. You can't be a certain way. You have to assimilate. That is just what needs to freaking happen. But people don't want to change. They won't want to do certain things. So I'd rather put that money, and we have the resources. We really do, to make sure that they have the same curriculums as any other school. I think the education needs to be standard. Okay, I don't think these kids should be getting. I think they're getting overlooked and underfunded, to be honest. I think it should be an American priority that every predominant Black school is protected by all costs. Okay. And I think that there needs to be recruiters for these HBCUs to start dipping into that freaking millions of dollars just sitting there. Maybe that's not being used. Let's just say this. What if at the end of the year, if a certain amount of money isn't being used at HBCUs, that money is dipped into undergraduate schools?
I think that it should be that way because I'm Black and I didn't go to an HBCU. So you know, where's my relief for that at? One thing I wanted to say though is I think it's a great point that you point out that when we need to do business, we have to answer the phone a certain way. But it's not all about business. What about all the apartment complexes? When I was trying to rent an apartment in LA, and I used that voice, you know, when I'm asking the landlord to come down on the speaker box. And somehow, some way between when they were upstairs and when they got down to meet me, the apartment got filled. I mean, you can get beat down. I mean, that's rough. And if you allow yourself to get beat down,
and that's
you
why
stop.
I say the best thing to do is to own your own property. You don't got to deal with that. A lot of people don't understand that the sellers or the leasers, even if you do qualify, can still say no to your application. They really can. They don't have to say yes to you. It's their house.
And I guess it was a very specific. I guess it was a very specific example of me just saying though that it still permeates through our society. Like I can try my best to assimilate. I can change my voice, but they still don't. But you know, when they see me, you did make a really good point earlier though that the loan folks don't see you no more. I had my little brother. I had a Black realtor. You know, I kept my money in the community and whatnot. The loan folks, I wouldn't worry too much about them anymore when it comes to real estate. But I'm just saying, you know, if my educators in the school are still predominantly white, and the police are still predominantly white, and the hiring managers are still predominantly white, we still got some issues that we got to overcome. That's all I'm saying. And sometimes it does, Georgie, take government intervention to try to right some of those wrongs. And I don't necessarily mean money, but you know, sometimes we do need some restrictions or some laws that say, okay,
I think we need some auditing. I think
we have those laws, and I think the wealthy people the wealthy white people use those very well. I think part of the problem is that we don't use them to our advantage very well.
Georgie, don't stop. I go around preaching. I'm going to do what I see rich white people do. That's what I do right now, too. And I got some stocks and stuff, and I say I'm doing okay. I live in a predominantly white neighborhood. And I live in the city, but in a recently gentrified neighborhood because I'm doing what I see the rich white folks do. I'm not sleeping on it. I'm with you on that. But
what I'd like to do is promote the two-person household. Or also promote okay, so one that I've noticed is the mere fact that my life has been better since I've had a partner. I think we need to make that normalized. So many women in our culture think like they have to be single, or I'm an independent woman, because so many music and famous people have made that normalized. No, you need a partner. And if you're not going to get a partner, I think you should partner up with somebody. You understand how that works? For instance, I think people move out too soon. I think if your kids are at least at the working age, how much money could you save for your kids or save together if you got a 16-year-old who's working, you're working, and maybe another kid that's working? Yeah, you're young, but I'm gonna have to take the check because it's gotta go to the bills. So the more people in your household, the more people working and capable of working, you guys should put your money together, save some of it, and get some ownership somewhere.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the biggest factor in the intergenerational wealth. And when we talk about, yes, redlining doesn't exist anymore, but the reason why there's
Does it?
such a huge gap in wealth gap, even much bigger than the wage gap, is because historically we weren't able to own property, whereas other races were, and they were able to pass that down, and that is the biggest factor in the wealth gap. I'm not saying it still exists today. Like I said, I think all three of us probably are, black folks that said, you know what, I'm not going to stand for this, but I just don't think I'm a victim. And with a lot of black people in the comments
I don't think
and
I'm a
stuff.
victim either.
Yeah,
I think in the work field, I work for myself now. So I work you guys are in my office. So I don't deal with the micromanaging but that really exists. It's horrible. I've dealt with racism systemically in almost every job I've had. And I feel so relieved to say today that I make my own money because I work. I mean, when I get calls, sometimes I don't want to answer it. Dealing with the public is freaking exhausting. But I always think, like, forget it. I don't care how many houses, like, people, I work all winter. I don't care who it is. I've almost lost my life. I believe somebody tried to freaking do something to me in the woods. I'm a little too ambitious sometimes. I need to tone it down, but I'm not going to get a gun. But I have to say, like, there's something in me that has to work even more. Like, I work from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. There's a drive in me that says that you got to keep it moving.
I'm not going to lie to you. I lived in, I live in the Midwest, moved out to LA after I graduated college. My parents lived in Philadelphia. And when my dad passed away, I moved up to Philadelphia to kind of try to help my mom out. And I was honestly disgusted because I felt like within our community in Philadelphia, people were very content with what was going on around them. Whereas I had been in LA where you ain't gonna tell nobody nothing. They call it the city of angels.
My grandfather used to say you need to make happiness up under your feet. But I can imagine being a flower in the middle of a like poop, like crap. Like you could be a flower all day, but if your roots are in shit, I mean, you're gonna be a smelly flower.
True. And they call LA the city of angels. I call it the city of hustlers. Whether your hustle is legal or not legal, people are getting theirs. Black, white, Hispanic, whatever, they get theirs, they do it. And that's the kind of person I am. And I think that's the kind of person the three of us here are, and a lot of people in the comments are. But we got some fundamental structural issues that are still holding us back in some ways, or maybe not holding the three of us back, but they are holding some of our brothers and sisters and cousins back. And I think we got to respect that a little bit. We got to teach them.
But a lot of people are ungrateful coming here. They're so ungrateful. I've been doing this TikTok for like 3 years. Okay, I'm almost at 100,000 followers. I post 10 times a day, 15 times a day. On top of that, my whole freaking career and taking care of freaking 3 kids. I don't understand the freaking excuses. I really don't, to be honest. Like, I work my freaking ass off. But I tell you this, I promise you this. When I'm capable, I'm going to help my people. I'm actually going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm actually going to go to these communities and go to these single mothers and say, let me help you because I can. That's what this community should be about. How many people are in Georgia State, in my state? We have connections. We know people. What do you need help with? Ain't nobody going to give it to you, but we'll give you the tools you need. We'll help you get there.
Y'all, when moving back and getting my own house, just like even like seeing this younger generation, I'm like, look, I don't want to do shit to fix. I don't want to do a dang thing to fix my house. I will pay y'all all types of cash to come over here. Couldn't get the nephews to do it or nothing. And guess what? I ended up paying, younger white kids and younger Hispanic kids. And it is a reality. It is a reality that some folks are expecting to be able to sit there and look pretty, and because they got, whatever looking on their face, that they're gonna get something handed to them.
Yeah.
And we
Let me
gotta
tell you
teach
guys
them.
a little
Maybe they got a
backstory
phone
though.
there.
I
let me
made
say
a
something.
video
Oh,
about
go
how
ahead.
businesses that you can start with an income tax check, right? Where there is a will, there is a way. So you can give me $5 and just give me a day to think about it. I'll turn it to 10 and I'll turn the 10 into 15.
Yeah, you know that's right.
I think what people have get out of their head or out of their minds that there's all these hurdles in their life, right?
Yeah.
And start figuring out ways. So they're there, they exist. They will never go anywhere. I don't care what we do, unless it's going to be life. But you're going to learn how to maneuver through it. And so, what I think the bigger conversations do we have conversations about ideas of how people in poverty can do it. I think you were debating someone the other day, and the guy was complaining about only having $25 in his pocket.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I'm like, listen, you're on an app that you can get paid for being on that app. And you're sitting on the app complaining about how damn poor you are. You know? Somebody like me would be like, I'm not complaining about that $25. TikTok will let me take a couple of these dollars and promote a live stream on here. I'm going to hustle the hell out of TikTok. And so,
I mean, there's so many things you can do.
I think one place where all three of us agree is that a lot of folks don't understand that, though. You can have 20, and it is hard to see when you are broke and destitute. Because there have been times. I mean, I've been hard up when it's all you were thinking about is next meal. Where does that come from? Next meal.
Yeah, but I was working, getting the meals, man. I was working.
But you got it can be tough, but I think it is incumbent. It's really important, and I know we all got to get off. It's 11:30 my time, but or almost 11:30 my time. But I already follow you, Andrea and Georgie. I just followed you. It is going to take us three getting together. It's going to take us three getting together in a room and figuring out who's going to play what roles. Some of us got to play different roles in this revolution, and some of us.
And guess what? For you haters, I will play that role. Georgie is here. You don't have to agree with us, but we are here and we're trying to figure it out. Give us some freaking credit by liking and following. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
I love y'all both. My brother, my sister. I love y'all. We are such beautiful people. We can do any goddamn thing we want.
Yes, we can. All right. On that note, I'm just gonna let Miss T get on because I'm about to go. My man's gonna kill me. I just wanted Miss T to give us some wisdom because she's been waiting, and I've talked to her before. I tried to get some new people. Miss T, are you there? Miss Brown, you there? Hello. Oh man, Miss Brown, she probably got tired of me. All right, and so basically, I just want to thank you guys for coming. Georgie, as always, thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
God might bless us somehow on TikTok, and we might be able to come up and actually physically help people that have been coming here. So don't be dogging on us when we're trying to do what we can do. And if we're wrong, you should come here and talk about it. Let's talk about it. Is all I'm saying.
Well, I always love having a good debate with you. We always we disagree, but we'll circle back around on an agreement somewhere.
Yeah, but Georgia, you're dangerous because you're making me look conservative, and you make it look real pretty. Like when I talk to you, it's like a Burberry watch or something. Like, look, you see this conservative watch? It shines, doesn't it?
I'm so dripping on you.
I'm gonna be conservative dripping soon. With no thanks to you. All right, I gotta go. Love you guys. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye, Georgie.
Good night. Thank you.